This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is sponsored by New Balance. New Balance's Fresh Foam X version 12 range represents a revolutionary advancement in the material that cushions the high-impact foot strikes that occur on roads, tracks, courts and fields everywhere. Informed by 3D motion captured pressure mapping and force application data gathered from real athletes, Fresh Foam is softness quantified. Welcome to episode number 231 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Looking forward to bringing you a big show this week. Going to talk about all the things that happened over the last week at the Australian Track and Field Championships. Bit of run for the kids chat in there. All the other things we do. Got a few different segments lined up for tonight to see how we go with time, which ones we get to and which ones we don't. And a big interview coming up, fresh off the press today. Luke Matthews interviewed Charlie Hunter probably about 4 hours ago. I haven't listened to much of it, but I'm sure it's going to be good. So that will be at the end of this episode. Welcome to my co-host up in Canberra. Big week coming up for Canberra with the Canberra Marathon coming up this week. Bradley Croker, welcome to this week's episode.
Thanks, Brady. Yeah, it should be a good weekend, hopefully. And weather forecast looks okay for Sunday.
What's it looking like? It's a bit too early though, isn't it? 5, 6, 7 days out? Is it accurate yet?
Well, compared to, tomorrow's pretty good. It's a Tuesday, but then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is all pretty rubbish. But the forecast is for light winds, 12 to 22 maybe.
Oh, perfect for marathon running.
Yeah.
It starts early, doesn't it? So you're going to get it finished by the time it warms up too much.
Yeah, 6:15 the marathon starts.
Oh, good. Big week coming up in your life. Hear a bit more about it in a second. My other co-host down in Anglesea, Julian Spence. Welcome to this week's episode.
Thank you, Brady, for having me again.
How are you going?
Tolerating a non-runner on the pod.
Yeah, what's this, the third week? You haven't done a run.
I haven't done a run.
You still run?
2 weeks now. No, well, luckily I got a scan today on my knee, and Ali got the results. Well, she didn't get the results, but she looked at the images, and even I could tell there's just masses of bone edema on the chondral area of my femur, which is sort of the bit that juts into just below the kneecap. So that's a good decision I made not running. It's just bad, basically bone stress.
Oh, really? So what does that actually mean? Is that the operation hasn't gone to plan and
too much hard downhill running?
Or too hard too soon?
No, you'll always be guessing when you try to put exact causes to this stuff. So it definitely probably I would say load related for sure, doing a lot. Didn't really get much warning sign, and I thought in my head I'm like, the surgery's gone well, the cartilage is cleaned up, everything's healthy in there. If I'm not feeling any sort of niggle or soreness, then I'm good to go. And so off I went, and I probably needed to just temper the efforts a little bit and maybe back the volume down. But yeah, now I'm I got the scan today, 3 weeks with only 2 short runs, and it was so the white bit that shows up on the bone that indicates swelling or inflammation or whatever, edema. It's huge.
So how long does Ellie think that takes to heal?
No, I don't know. But I had the scan, and then I went straight to the gym, and I sent a message to Ali, and I said, I had the scan. The report should come on Wednesday. I just had a really great gym session. Like, I was able to progress all my exercises, and the knee's feeling heaps better. So there's positives to this, because the scan's showing a lot of things, but like the most important thing is the soreness is dropping, and I'm able to do a lot more like technical exercises on the knee, get more range out of it with my movements, add more weight to it, and generally be healthier, like with those sort of knee related movements. So it's not all bad. It's just that indicates that it was pretty bad, and it's still not happy in there. So just be careful with it.
Yeah, because like obviously you've been off it for 2 weeks. Imagine if you got scanned 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you'd think it would have been real upset. And
Yeah.
I knew I shouldn't have been running. Like, it was, I couldn't run through with how sore it was. But yeah, I've got a sports doc appointment, so we'll follow up on that. He can give some advice, and we'll wait for the actual report, because there might be other findings. Like, Ali can't read the cartilage side of it that well, so we'll wait to how they sort of report on the cartilage.
Can't Watto read it? Isn't that what he does for a job?
Watto, no, he'll guess.
Oh,
He's
really?
the biggest guesser at this shit ever. He'll tell you got a stressy, and then like you'll come out and the doctor will say, "No, it's all fine."
Oh, he just takes the photos.
Watto
Yeah,
just presses the button.
He
Okay.
presses the button, puts in your gown on, and then he has a bit of a punt as he's doing it. He looks at it and he's like, "Oh yeah, I reckon it could be this or this or this,"
And tells the person.
and then tells you as you walk out. He's like, "Oh, you're fucked, mate. You're fucked," or "You're good to go," and actually you really do have a stressy.
Oh, I love it. Have you been doing any paddleboarding down there?
I just got out before, actually. I got out and it's good, just a bit of Blue Doctor time. I'm getting better. I'm getting like my muscles, my shoulders, my back's getting more conditioned to it. So I'm more comfortable. I actually, Croaks, you like this? As I was gliding along the water tonight, I thought, geez, I'm covering it well out here today.
Just real smooth.
Yeah, just smooth, just like a little bit more strength, and so I can grab, I can sort of pull with more power. And when you got more power, you glide further and you feel stronger. And I'm a little more upright. I can hold my head up stronger. I guess it's like a baby, like learning to do tummy time, like how their head can stay up over time. Well, I was just thinking, if this turns to shit, I'm going to do some sort of racing with this stuff. I'm going to get into it.
It reminds me, Moose, of like times when I used to swim, where if I hadn't swum for months, I'd jump in, and within the space of like a few hundred meters, my arms are just completely cooked. But then like 2 or 3 weeks later, you're pulling more water and you're sort of getting that glide between strokes. So that's probably similar to how you feel on the board, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you get a bit of buzz with it too.
There'd be a bit about that locking into flow state as well. You know what I mean? When you're smooth and you just lock in and it's kind of relaxing. It's not too hard on the body.
It is rhythmic.
Yeah.
So, and when you're going downwind or down swell, you get a lot of like help. And so you can catch these little runners, and all of a sudden it's like cycling downhill. You don't have to put in much energy and you're getting pushed along, and you can move, like you can go quick. So there's a guy who set me up with the board. His name's Zeb Walsh. Pretty sure he won the Molokai Channel Crossing race, which is like the biggest paddleboard race in the world. And he's in Torquay, and I just sent him a message. I said, "Hey, can I come for a paddle with you soon? Just to learn the ropes a little bit more," which I've held off because I didn't want to go out there as a real spud and like look like a wally in the ocean next to him. So, but now I'm feeling a bit more confident. That should be interesting.
Report back when that happens. Anything else happened in your life this past week that you want to talk about?
Thursday Bree and I went down to Ballarat and we handed the keys over to the new owner of the store down there. So Alice Rowe, our manager, she's taken the reins, and we couldn't be happier that the person that bought our store, which has been a long sort of not a negotiation, but just a long process, is Alice, because we've like the store's in great hands. She's got great values, and we're we're really pumped for that. But yeah, the big announcement is that we've sold Ballarat, so all our focus and energy now is at the running company in Geelong.
Good work. That was what you were talking about last week when you didn't want us to guess stuff.
Yeah, it was, and it was a bit of a shit arvo, to be honest, because we got down there. It was supposed to be a real celebration. Like, we had the champagne ready, everyone was sort of real pumped for it, and we do a last stock take, and then during probably about 15 minutes in, I started to feel real queasy, and then 5 minutes later, did not make it to the bathroom, threw up all over outside, and I had the worst gastro ever. For probably a 3 to 4 hour power period of just spewing and pooing non-stop, and there wasn't a chance to delay this. The settlement had to go through, and we had to do a stock take, so there was no choice in the matter. I just had to keep pushing through, and then about an hour after I first threw up, Bree started throwing up as well. So we're both there, palm and peer off to one another as the other one goes out to take a spew in the toilet.
Too much information, Brad.
Yeah. What, you never spewed when you had gastro?
I do, but there's people out there running at the moment, probably, K into their jog, and then just listen to that.
If you got,
everyone's been there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was it. So it was eventful, but I'm still a bit cooked from the gastro, actually. It messed with my stomach so bad. And there's a real link. I've always had a really strong link between my stomach health and how my headspace is as well. And when my stomach starts playing up, I get in foul moods, and I lose a lot of motivation, and it's generally just feel real flat. So once you come off gastro, you eat shit food, and your stomach still catching up from the trauma it's been through, and then you're putting shit food in, so it's not feeling very good. So I need to get back into a routine, of eating good food, and generally the routine, the routine of exercising helps me with my food decisions for the day. So if you work out in the morning, then you're gonna eat properly immediately after, and that sets the tone for the day. And I haven't been doing that just because I've been feeling so sick.
How the mighty have fallen, Brady. Hey, the once 214 man is a shell of himself at the moment.
I had 3 weeks off. I was winning big races down here over Christmas. I'll be back again, don't you worry.
Yeah, Giles Park, didn't you say?
Giles Park. Oh, I wonder if I can jog around.
Giles Park, 6K cross-country leg, 2 laps.
Geelong's looking all right
You're
again.
You're good at cross-country too, I reckon.
Good at jogging around Giles Park. 6.2K, is it?
6, maybe a bit shorter. You don't really worry about distance in cross-country, do you? You just get to the handover zone.
We'll have to look. You'll have the day off tomorrow. You can go through fastest time. Do you ever run Giles, Brad?
Fastest time ever.
No.
Fastest time between us.
Oh, you got me 1 year, I reckon.
You've run faster since last year?
Nah, because I always get stuck. Because I'm the 5th or 6th runner in our team. I always get the leg that's second last or last. I'm time trialing out there. You got to run first leg if you want to have a crack a good time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you compare times over different legs.
Yeah, you can.
You can't. Only if you got the faster
Everyone
time.
runs the same course, mate.
Yeah, but one of them it's a race, the other one it's a time trial, and you're lapping people.
Then you go being so far back that you'd never be in a race. Whereas
Brady, you do time. You basically race every session on your own in a Chukamoama.
Yeah, but I'm not good at cross country time trials.
You're not good at cross country, full stop.
I'm all right. Come 11th at the Australian Champs 1 year cross country.
Was that the one in Albany where it cost $8,000 to get there?
No, this one was in Tassie. I went to. Very competitive it was. Very competitive. I reckon a UK guy won it, Ben Moreau. Maybe Mitch Brown beat Ben Moreau. That was back in the glory days. Anyway, so you're going all right. Brad, tell us what you're doing.
Still ticking along. Did an hour on Monday, 4:14. So my easy runs pace is definitely just coming down a little bit for similar effort. So I guess that's a good sign. Then Tuesday morning, I jumped on the treadmill, just did 35 minutes, around sort of 4:40s. Then that afternoon was track. So I did 400s of 30 seconds recovery. I ended up doing 18 of them. I did 17 the last time I did it. A little bit quicker this time around. So I think the slowest rep was 74 and the fastest was 68. So I ended up averaging like 72s for the 18. So it ended up being like a solid set. Like pace wise was all like quite comfortable, but it just becomes a bit of a grind off the short rest. But it was a nice little progression from, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks previous, where I think I averaged like 75, 76s or something like that. It was definitely a little bit harder than 3 weeks beforehand, but I was happy to get through that one. I had a nice little pack as well. There was, I think, 4 of us sort of taking turns of leading, so certainly made the job a little bit easier. Then Wednesday after work, I did 90 minutes, 4:13s out at Mulligan's. Thursday, just my 45-minute loop, 4:14s. I'm trying to think which day it was during the week. Like Tuesday, I didn't feel quite as poppy as what I had other sort of track sessions, and I was wondering whether it was just, this was sort of like my third sort of biggish week in a row. But then later in the week, I just started to feel started to get like a bit of an itchy nose and like the odd sort of sneeze here and there. So I don't know if I have a bit of a cold. So anyway, 4:14s I ran on Thursday for 45 minutes. Then my session on Friday, and so actually I decided not to do a double on the Friday because I'm like, just haven't felt amazing this week. But then got out for the session in the afternoon, which was on the treadmill, did 6 by 6 minutes, 1 minute rest. So it was a nice little progression from 2 weeks previous, where I did 6 of them at 17.5k an hour, which was like 3:26s. And this time around I did 2 at that pace, and then I did 4 at 18k an hour, which is 3:20s. And yeah, felt really smooth. Once again, one of those sessions where you finish it and you could do another 2 reps or whatever if you had to. And then Mulligan's again on Saturday for an hour, 4:11s. And then and then that afternoon treadmill again, 35 minutes. And then Sunday decided I'd do a bit of a flatter run around the lake with Rob, who's running the marathon on the weekend. So he was only doing 90 minutes. So I went out and did like 8k beforehand, and then just basically ran one big lap of the lake. Average 4:07s, which sort of every time I run around the lake on the bike path, it makes me realise like how much easier it is when it's flat and it's road versus Mulligan's. Because like if I'm like, I did 29k in 2 hours, and like I finished and felt great. Like I could have run another 30-40 minutes, whereas normally like if I run that same pace at Mulligan's, it's a pretty solid run. So 140, just over 140k for the week. Feeling pretty good. I'm going to go and get a COVID test actually tomorrow, just to make sure I don't have it, because I just a bit of a sore throat like developed today, and I've still sort of got that a bit sort of runny nose and that sort of thing. So I feel fine. Like I went and ran this afternoon and felt great running, but I just got a bit of a sore throat. So something's obviously not quite right.
Heart rate high, the Savo though?
No. The only time I put the strap on is 4 sessions. So the rest is just wrist heart rate. So I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it was real. Like according to the wrist heart rate, it was pretty low this afternoon.
Looks
good bars
actually.
But yeah, like
I've had Moose 2 hours, 4:07s, and I could have done another 30-40 minutes at that pace.
I said to Rob as we were finishing, I'm like, this is the first long run in since I had my calf and COVID where I've actually felt like I wanted to or could have gone to like 2.5 hours, which is generally a good sign. I think I said a few weeks back that a sign for me that I was always fit was like feeling like you still got plenty of running left in you at the end of long runs. So it's all good. I'm thinking about having maybe a bit of a down week this week, just with the marathon on the weekend. So I'll probably do my long run on the Saturday and maybe not go quite as long. So, but I've had
race the 10 or the half at Canberra this weekend, late entry.
Because I'm handing out drinks to all.
Okay.
I've got a fair few athletes running, so I'll hand out drinks.
I'll give you that one. You could have nearly won like both of those, I reckon, though. I haven't heard any names up there.
I don't know who's running, but I'm like I don't really know how fit I am because like the 400 session, like it's okay. It's nothing special. Like look like you're running bloody mid 60s.
Yeah, 66.
Yeah, like so I'm obviously not going that well if I'm running 72s.
Yeah, but you're comparing yourself with a real big dog if you're going to do that, mate. It's like me saying
400 doesn't tell you much either. We've learnt that, surely.
If you do 18 of them, it does though. You can wing your way through 10 of them. You can't win 18.
So here's the difference though. So you're running your reps like 6 seconds a lap faster than me. I guarantee you, if we raced, you wouldn't be 15 seconds a kilometre ahead of me.
What do you mean? Over what distance?
Well, that's so over sessions at the moment. You're running 400 metre reps 6 seconds per rep faster than what I am. So 6 seconds over 400 is 15 seconds a kilometre. I guarantee you wouldn't be.
Yeah, we're training for different things though.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you're obviously training you're doing your sessions pretty hard.
No, it's pretty easy, that one. I'll talk about it in a second though. But it had, you noticed how every 6 we changed gears.
No.
Did you notice that?
Nah, but no, body's good, and I guess it's hard to know at the moment how fit I am because like one session a week's generally on the treadmill, which who knows how accurate that is. But the main thing is I'm like enjoying my running, absolutely loving getting out the door and training.
I reckon the long run's the key though. If you're feeling good in long runs, that's a good sign of fitness. What about, so how many weeks you got till Sydney 10? Like 3 weeks yesterday?
I think it's 4. I think it was 4 weeks from yesterday.
Is that a Saturday or Sunday race?
It's a Sunday race, yeah. So 4 weeks from yesterday.
So you're going to have a rust buster, aren't you? Like parkrun, not this weekend, next weekend?
I think I'm just going to do a hard lap of Mulligans, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just looking for the right time to do that.
Is that going to tell you much, though?
Not really, but it's more about the effort.
Yeah, I know, but like you want to put the effort in, but if it doesn't tell you.
I reckon it would tell you, though.
Have you got something to compare it to?
No, I haven't. I've never done.
That's what I mean.
I've never done an all-out effort around that loop. Like I've done that loop as part of sessions, but I've never gone like flat out around there.
Didn't before BY you did like maybe 2 or 3 laps around there, pretty solid?
No, I used to do the Hillier section for that.
Okay.
Whereas the loop's a bit. The loop's the one that you ran, so it's not that hilly. Yeah.
It's pretty like twisty, turny, and rocky and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty technical.
But you know what I mean? Like the rust buster though, if you're training within yourself, it's more about just hurting yourself to sort of just get yourself ready for the race, so that when you then go to race, it's not so foreign in terms of like pushing that hard. So like the pace is not really that important. Yeah. It's more just getting a really hard effort in.
Or just even say you're on the track between now and Sydney 10, just working like the second or the last 2 or the last rep of something.
Yeah, well, that last time I did Ks, like I worked down my last 2 like 3:07 and 3:03. So like I don't really need to be going any faster than that anyway.
Nah, punch a 2:48 or something, I reckon. Just really put yourself in the pain cave.
Not like you, Brady.
You haven't been there for a long time, Croaks. Racing's completely different.
Yeah, but I never did anything. So when I went and did that 5K last year in Sydney, like I didn't do too many, like I didn't race before that. I did a 3K in 9 minutes, and that's about it.
This Sydney 10 is going to be different than that Sydney 5K, though. There's a few big hitters rocking up to this one.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the way that I race.
Nah, you still got to try and smash them, Croaks, I reckon. Represent the podcast. See,
anyway.
Clifford entered today. I saw that promotion.
Yeah.
Clifford versus Croaks. Moose, who you got over 10?
Clifford.
Right. I reckon you're fit, Croaks. I reckon you're...
You're going up, Brady?
Wasn't intending to, but
this is
Archie's told me he wanted to do it today. So I've put it in his program. But
opportunity to come and towel up an old man.
Yeah, I've got to get that. What were you saying last week? Do you reckon I'm 2-0 or something, don't you? You're 2-0, our head-to-heads.
3-0, I think.
Oh, what about, I reckon if you don't... No, what about Berlin Marathon? Got you that day because you're DNF'd. That counts.
You're going to count those ones, are you?
I reckon. Anyone you pull out of I'll take that.
I'll take a Sydney 10, a Gold Coast half, and a Albert Park 10.
I reckon just the Albert Park 10 because I didn't even know you in the other 2 races.
Doesn't matter.
You reckon?
Yep.
All right, I'll tell you about my week though,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but he hasn't raced for the last 2 or 3 years.
Doesn't matter.
The record's the record.
Yeah.
Record.
And now, anytime you beat me, it's like, well, how do you feel beating a 42-year-old?
Yeah, still, I'm
You
pretty
should
old
beat a
as well.
40. You should beat a 42-year-old.
Yeah, but I was only 16 when you beat me in those other races, and you're like 27.
How old were you in 2015?
Doesn't matter. I'm going to go through my week. Monday.
Late mid-20s?
Yeah, probably. No, I don't know. 2015. I was just starting running, I reckon. Monday, 12.7k. Don't know what. Oh, yes, I do, because I was late out the door that day, so it was 57 minutes at 4:29 pace. Doing a bit of promotion of the Bendigo Bats podcast on my Strava there. If you want to go check that out, hear about how the Bendigo Bats are going to shape up for 2022. Make sure you check that out, listeners. Had like 2,500 downloads, fellas. Need a few more, but it's good to see the bat support there. So that's nice.
That's 2,000 was Andy Buchanan.
Just type in "Tell Me Your Tales" or something on your podcast feeds, or check out my Strava, listeners, if you want to know where to go there. 30 minutes in the afternoon, 4:25 pace. Just did a good loop after work. Tuesday was the workout you're talking about, Croaks. Went over to Shepparton with Archie. He drove. Because did I tell you someone's been hammering nails into the tyres of my car? I tell you this.
Huh?
I've had 3 nails through the tyres of me Kia. Someone's, I don't know. The first one I thought I just drove over, and I'm like, oh, this is a bit of bad luck. I got a nail through my tyre, and then the next day.
Not Archie, is it?
What, in Shepparton? In Shepparton?
No. This is just I don't know when I got them, but I'd just be driving to work and my car be beeping at me saying I got to check the tyre pressure, and then I go to the servo and pump them up, and then I notice there's like a nail in there. So I've been down the old...
Archie thinks he deserves the Kia sponsorship.
It's not Archie, because now he's got to drive to Shepparton and he's got to use his car for petrol. So Archie was the one who drove over there. I've got it fixed though. It was all good to get me to Melbourne and back on the weekend, but that was a bit of inconvenience last week. Drove over to Shepparton. In the warm-up, it was really weird. I didn't realise, I only had my stopwatch face showing, but we were kind of just ticking along. My second K was 4:02 and my third K was 3:55, and I never jog at that pace, and it felt like it was like 4:30s, and I thought my GPS must be wrong. Then Archie's like, no, I've got the same on my watch. So I must have just had this unbelievably good pop. I don't know what it was, because I'd sat in the car for an hour to get over there, but straight out of the car into the warm-up felt really good. My workout, we did 2 kind of different workouts. So Archie went off and did I think it was like a 2.5k threshold. He kind of went like up and down the kind of road out the front of the athletics track, because I was doing, ideally to start off with, the plan was 3 sets of 6 400s. The first set in 70s, the next set in 68s, and the last set in like 65s. And then what happened was, and this is with 45 seconds walk in between them, and we tried to time it when Archie came back from his threshold. I'd be kind of doing my lap recovery in between the sets, but we got the timing wrong, and he kind of got back just as I was finishing the 5th one, and I didn't want to make him wait for too long. So I did the first 12 without having a break in between the sets. So, and it actually felt really good. I felt this was good, because I was like, this feels good. Haven't been on a track for ages. It's real, honest. You know how sometimes you do loops on the road and you're not sure if the GPS is right or anything like that. Whereas when you're on the track, you know it's legit. So yeah, the first set was like 68, 70, 69, 70, 70, 69. And then he jumped in and we went 68, 67, 67, 66, 66, 65. And then he had a lap jog and I changed into spikes, just because I got to get my calves ready for this stall mile, which is coming up in maybe 3 weeks today, I think. And then, so that was probably a bigger break for me. I think it was about 3 minutes. And then I jogged backwards to meet him with about 100 metres to go on the track. And then we went 65, 63, 65, 64, 64, 62. So, good workout, and it felt pretty comfortable. 45 seconds I think is just enough. Like 30 would have been really hard. A minute probably would have been too long. Amazing the difference you feel in the spikes. Like biomechanically just completely different than when in the next percents for the first 12. But yeah, a good workout. I'm hoping I can string, I haven't seen my handicap for stall yet, but I think I'm probably going to have to run 64s. So it was good to be able to average 64 for the last 4 there, and hopefully I can string 4 of those together come race day to be a bit of a shot at the stall gift.
It confuses me, this workout. Like, you're running 64 average with a lot of...
66 average for the whole thing.
All right, which is what, 3K pace?
Yeah,
or
probably
3K pace. But you did run it quite a bit faster as well throughout the workout. So you're doing
the last 6 were faster than that.
Yeah,
that was probably 64 average for the last 6. 1500 meter pace.
Yeah, that's 1500. So that's 2.5K at 1500 meter pace with only 45 seconds rest after doing
race week and during race week
12 already.
Maybe I'm in shape, fellas.
If I'm looking at this on paper, I'm thinking, okay, well, if you do 18 of these, they're going to have to be like 66 plus, and you can do shorter rest, but that's okay. But you don't want to be rolling these too quick because the volume will get out of hand with the pace with that short rest. Like if I'm giving someone 400s at 3K pace, they're getting more than 45 seconds rest, and they're not doing 80. You didn't do 18 of them, but you did a fair few of them under 66.
Yeah,
it's just hard.
Especially when I missed the lap jog between the first set and the second set.
Yeah, this would be an example of having a workout and going, okay, we need to tweak something here because it's very, very hard. And what should have been tweaked in my mind, you should have stayed at 66 or.
Well, I needed to find that I wanted to do work at that 1500 meter pace though.
Well, then
do you know what I mean?
But that's a different workout. Do 200s then.
Yeah.
Cut them to 200, and if it's
go
the pace,
32, you reckon?
Yeah, if it's the pace that if you're wanting, then don't deficit yourself so much, or chuck the 45 out to a minute 30 or something. Give yourself adequate recovery if you're going to be punching 400s that quick.
He said it was easy, Moose. He said it was an easy session.
Yeah, well, I know it's not easy. I know.
I don't know. I don't know how you can say it's easy.
The first 6 were easy. That's my 10K pace. So 6 400s at 10K pace with 45 seconds.
Yep. So
then
that workout is easy if you do 18. If you do 18 of them, then that's the workout.
I did 20 before Melbourne. I did 20 off 30 in 68.
And once
you get that, sorry, Brad.
How'd that work out for you? So before
what do you mean?
Don't go here again.
I had
how did that correspond to your marathon time? Running 68s for 400s.
Yeah, I ran. We've talked about this. I was proud of that race. I ran 2:20.
All right.
I think for me the workout is 20 to 25 by 400, but they're at 10K pace, or they may be towards 5K pace. If you get carried away, that's okay. And then you have 30 seconds, 45 seconds rest. Short rest should be corresponding with slower paces and higher volume. Fast paces, longer rest, less volume. But you've somehow combined both of them, and that's the scary bit to me with a workout like this.
Scary as in unachievable or injury risk?
Loses purpose to a degree. You take it from being a good workout into a very, very high stress activity. And this is where in the past you were quite good in the lead up to Melbourne, being sensible. But in my mind, this one, just looking at this, I didn't even see this workout before today. And I think, oh damn, that's you can do a better workout than that if you stick to the purpose. I don't think you need to cut down to 3K pace at the end of 18 400s in race week, like you said.
They were. It wasn't race week. They were they were 1500 meter pace though, the last ones.
Yeah, they were
64
faster, right? If you want to turn the legs over, run 200s.
Yeah, which I could have. I agree with you. That's the purpose of them, to get used to 1500 meter pace.
Okay, Brady, ask yourself this: would you ever give this workout to someone? Would you ever write 6 by 400 at 1500 meter pace at the end after doing 12 with 45 seconds break?
Nah, probably not. And that's probably why Archie was doing a threshold and then jumping in for the last 12.
That was my other question.
Yeah, well, it was his race week, so he was priming for Run for the Kids. Like he was hitting that fresh.
Okay, but if you had like Brady 3 weeks from now in a decent training block, would you you wouldn't ever prescribe
that workout?
The workout that you've given yourself.
Depends who it is. It's hard to say. Hard to say who it is.
I don't know. I don't reckon you would ever write that. I reckon you would look at it and go.
I think you look at the first 12 and you're like, that's pretty easy. Like you're doing. That's a pace I can do 25 laps at, and the second set was a pace that I can do 12 and a half laps at. Yeah,
and you've did 12 laps already at it.
Yeah, with breaks.
With short breaks, 45 not that much. Anyway. I wouldn't. Maybe I'm.
We can agree to disagree.
Maybe I'm a soft coach. You're a hard ass. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, the session was it wasn't. I would say a B+ workout, like not a high stress workout. But yeah. Anyway.
Disagree.
Well, I was the one doing it. So I can tell you how I felt about it.
But you've just told me you did 6 400s at 1500 meter pace.
Yeah.
Like that you would normally have at least a minute between them, and then you probably wouldn't do more than like 10 of them.
But hey, Brady, back when I was running 1500 meters, we used to do sets of 400s, and we used to do sets of 4. And if I did 4 of them off a minute recovery at 1500 meter pace, 60 seconds, 61 at the time, you then take a big break in between those after those 4 400s.
And then you could string 4 of those together in a race.
I would say that that's high stress, but I'm saying you did like 4 of them on their own off 1 minute recovery is a set, and then I would take 3 to 5 minutes recovery before I do any more, and you've done 6 of them off 45 seconds.
Fit, fellas, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just fit.
Maybe you're a 3:45 man, you just haven't run it yet.
Jeez, don't tell Stall Gift, hey? It could affect my handicap.
Oh, yeah. This is where you might.
This will all be getting cut. We're just got to wait for our handicaps to come out.
We might replay this in a few weeks after you run a 4-minute mile, and all of a sudden
I'm not going to run a 4-minute mile because I couldn't do any of those laps at 4-minute mile pace.
Oh, and also you don't run a mile because you're off however much.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm off yet. Hopefully I find out soon. In the afternoon anyway, boys, I got out for 30 minutes at 4:42. Wednesday, recovery day, 10k in the morning, 4:45s, and then half an hour in the afternoon, 4:45s. Bit late that one, 7 p.m. Got to stop doing those ones now. Daylight savings is done. Otherwise, they're going to be a bit, don't like running in the dark at that hour. Thursday, Hugh Van Cuylenberg. I've been listening to his second book as an audio book, so I'll listen to that for an hour 45 at 4:25s. Just backed off slightly. I've been probably averaging 4:10s for that 1:45 the last few weeks. Just wanted to back off knowing that I was going to Melbourne for a run for the kids. Did 30 minutes Thursday afternoon at 4:36s. Then Friday did 10k in the morning. Just ran from my front door. Did 4 by 2 minute strides in there around about 3:10 pace. Felt like junk, just windy. You know when you drive to a workout and you get that kind of up and about feeling, and then when you do it in a location that you don't usually do it in, you're just not as pumped up and it's just like a bit of a chore. That's exactly what this was like. Then got out for 30 minutes post-work at 4:32 pace. Saturday, got out for 50 minutes at 4:29 with Luke Millard. He was a Bendigo Bats guy, he is a Bendigo Bats guy who was in Echuca in Moama playing some golf at Rich River Golf Club, so it was good to see him up here. Showed him some local trails. He was doing his long run. And then Sunday, fellas, run for the kids. This was good, 14.8k. The old course backwards moose, but I think the old course might have been 15, so we must have done something different.
Probably one of those. Do you go past Spencer Street?
Yeah, we finished there. You know that Collins Street hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we finished at the bottom of the Collins Street hill.
Oh, you run down the hill to finish?
To finish, yeah, but you probably hit the uphill at the aquarium. You know where the aquarium is there? Hit the uphill there and then turn left up Collins Street with Spencer shooting the right. Yeah.
Yes.
That was the last K. So really weird, the last K, having a big climb and then a steep downhill as well. And then you start at Docklands down there and then finish at Docklands probably 600 metres back from where you started. Great course. I loved it. It was a great field. Liam Adams' gun went. He went flying up the road, and so did the Ethiopian guy, Abiri Bilay. He was the guy that was in the lead pack at Melbourne Marathon for a while. Can you remember with Ed Goddard and Tom DeCano and that? Brett Robinson? I reckon he pulled out about 25k. 209 guy, I'm pretty sure. And now he's in Australia. Not sure what his story is, why he's here, or what's the go, but I'm pretty sure he ran 209 back in the day. And he's been popping up at a few Australian fun runs and things like that. So 208 actually. He's ran 61 and 208. So it says he's 27. That can't be right, because he ran that time in 2013. Jeez.
Yeah, I did. Is he not the guy who came over on a team and stayed one time? Like, was there? Or he came over to the Melbourne Marathon and then. Then
not sure.
I'm not sure either, but he did pop up.
Yeah, he ran Melbourne Marathon in 2014. Ran 2:12. Come third.
And has he been in Australia ever since that?
Yeah, because I raced him at that Collingwood Classic 5K a couple of, probably this time last year. And he went out super hard, and then we kind of went past him, and I think he ran like 14:45. So I wasn't sure. Like, you see him at these races and a few DNFs, and you're never sure what kind of shape he's in. So him and Liam went off the front, and then we had an awesome pack, just like racing for that third spot. So like my training partners, Archie Reid, Nathan Stoke were in there. Alistair Christie, you know this guy, Moose? He runs for Doncaster.
Nah, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, neither did I. And then I was talking to him at the end, and then I looked him up, and he'd run like 14:15 last week. And I'm just like, who are these guys? Like, 14:15 and 8:13.
How old?
Not exactly sure, actually. I've got his IWF open here. 24. He ran 30:30 in Canberra Croaks, 11th of April 2021. Would that be Canberra Marathon?
Yeah, it would have been. Yep.
Yeah, he ran 30:13 at that same race at Sticks Kernahan, broke 30 minutes in the B grades Adapec. So he was in the pack as well. Who else was in there? Dave Ridley was in there, and Matthew Skurenberg from Western A's. Raced him a couple of times as well. He had a blinder actually. Anyway, we'll let the first two guys go. Pretty much ran as a group. Archie kind of broke away with us going over the Balti. Then we kind of picked him back up. Big group of us over the West Gate. A bit windy going over the West Gate, so we kind of slowed a bit over there. Went through 5k in 15:11 and felt really good. Like, considering that was with the climb in it, like the bridge, to still hit a 15:11 5k, I was pretty surprised with, because I wasn't looking at any splits. And then, when we were coming up to the 5k marker, I was like, come on, hopefully this is like 15:40ish, because I was thinking I wanted to average about 3:08. And then I was, super surprised to see 15:11, and it felt like smooth as well. Then we dipped into the tunnel, and Archie made a bit of a move there again, and Matt and Nath went with him, and then Alistair and Dave and I kind of formed another pack. Then probably at about 10k, Alistair put a move in. We got...
Brady, at that time... Yeah. Why didn't you go with Nathan and Archie?
I tried to. So when they made the initial move, I tried to cover it, and then I just couldn't keep up. And then it was, I don't know exactly when the move was, because we just went past the 7k mark, and then I looked at like what the time was for 7k, and then at 8k I looked again, and I'd ran a 3-minute dead k, and they must have ran like a 2:55. Like, I just couldn't, just literally couldn't keep up with them. Like, tried to cover it, but couldn't cover it. And they probably got 20 seconds ahead of us, I reckon, in the next kind of couple of Ks. And then, it was Alistair and Ridley and I running together back through the gardens. And then I kind of just moved away from Alistair and Dave just as we were coming back near the skate park there before we hit South Bank. And then just ran super. I just felt amazing. It's probably 12k through there. And I reckon I got the gap back to about 10 seconds from Nath, Matt and Archie. But then they started kicking away to kind of race for that third spot, and just, I just couldn't pull him in. And Nath got third. He was 22 seconds ahead of me. And Matt was, fourth. And then Archie was fifth, 10 seconds ahead of me. So, good run in the end. I was stoked with that. Like, averaged 3:06 for nearly 14k. And I definitely didn't think I was anywhere near that shape. Like, I was kind of thinking 3:08s, 3:10s was probably going to be where I'm at, because I've run that course. The best I've averaged on that course is 3:08s, and it's backwards, so it's obviously going to be some difference. But it's kind of showing that this kind of new system I'm kind of putting in place with this less intensity in workouts, and that medium long run and the good long run on the Sunday is kind of working for me, because I obviously had some challenges there when Olivia was born. Like, I wasn't sure how I was going to manage with training with 2 kids and work hours and things like that. But yeah, I was over the moon to be that close to those boys, because I know how fit all those guys are that were in front of me.
It is a good run from you.
I was stoked with it. I couldn't believe it. I was buzzing on the way back.
Good pace, and you're right. Those two are a little more advanced than you. They seem to be beating you in everything right now. So it's sort of fitting that you were a little behind them, but then you beat the best of the rest, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that Alistair Christie, as I said, he ran 14:15 last week. That was the same race that Nathan Archie ran 14:18 in. So you're kind of coming in with a lot of guys who are fit at the moment. Right. So he beat Archie in that race. No, he was with me with 2K to go, and I put.
He beat Archie in the 5K.
In that 5K race. But I put 35 seconds into him into the last 2.5K. I'll cover the ground real well coming through South Bank there. I was pretty stoked with it, and then crossed the line, said a few congratulations, and then went and did the high five with Carly. She went to the start line. I got Olivia, and then I stuffed up though, fellas, because I went and had a shower, took Olivia down to the finish line, and we were planning to see Carly with about 500 metres to go. But I didn't realise that the short course had a different finish than the long course. So I'm standing with 500 metres to go at the long course, watching everyone come in, and she's finishing on a complete different road, around the corner. So, I was getting a bit worried, because she sent me a message when she had a K to go. She was like, I've got a K to go, I'm nearly there. And I'm like, good work, we're just up on the right-hand side with about 500 metres to go. And then 10 minutes passes, we still haven't seen her. And I'm like, oh no, she's collapsed, or she's had a really bad last K or whatever. But it turns out she was finishing in a completely different spot. So, not good husband points there, but it was great to see her there. It was all about her, and she went quicker than 35 minutes. And this is a lady who was having her stomach cut open.
That's pretty good.
13 weeks ago. Yeah, it's amazing what that people do. Mums, women, their body is phenomenal what they can do. So she was pretty stoked to get that, and just that whole race just hits home completely different now that you've got kids. I've done it heaps of times without kids, and the money's going to the Royal Children's Hospital and things like that. But what nearly broke me when I was standing there watching the finishes and had Olivia in the pram, and then people were running with prams, but instead of having babies in them, they had picture frames of their children who had passed away. And I'm just fuck, it's just so emotional. You're just standing there with your healthy kid in a pram, and you're watching people probably 10 people, same t-shirts, the kids' pictures on the back of the t-shirt and stuff like that, and you're it's an empty pram, but they're kind of doing it to honour their child and stuff. So amazing race that raises so many good funds for such a worthy cause. So it was good to be back on the streets of Melbourne. Did half an hour in the afternoon when I got home, just at 5:03 pace, just to kind of shake out post drive, 145k for the week, but pretty banged up now. I've got to just respect that I've had a bit of heel stress in there, because I don't get to run on them that often, and got a fair bit of DOMs, so I don't think I'll work out again until about Friday at this stage, but I'll just wait and see what the body tells me, and do a bit of speed work between now and stall, and we'll get going, fellas. In a good spot.
Good race from you.
Thank you, Moose. Brad, any comments? Don't rate it like my Melbourne performance.
No, good job. I just wasn't, when we got off air last week, it was your racing, and then about, 12 hours later, you start sandbagging it by saying, I'm doing a session, and then I'm going to do my long run on Thursday.
Well, I still do an hour 45 on Thursday. Went into it heavy.
And I'm just going to tempo it.
He doesn't like it, Moose, when I'm going all right. He doesn't like it.
So you're going to say that was a tempo now?
No, it was a threshold. I'm going to call it threshold. I definitely didn't dig that deep like I had.
You actually do run your thresholds that fast.
Well, that's the thing. Since I've been working on this new system, I've been doing all my thresholds at 3:15 pace. So this new system that I'm working on is Tuesday threshold work at 3:12 to 3:15. And then because you can't have the intensity if you're going to do that hour 45 and then 2 hours 15. And then my workout on Fridays have just been 3:03s. I just every Friday I'm just doing short reps at 3:03s. So then I was amazed that I could jump straight into 45 minutes at 3:06s. Something in it, fellas. Long runs get you fit. Don't worry about the quality of the workouts.
How'd you go up the hills?
Yeah, it was good. I'm all right up the hills. I'm telling you this all the time. Like when we went out to Balti, I'm like, people slowing down around me and I was feeling all right. It's just that it's not because I know I'd never get to run on them, but I think I'm all right when it comes to racing on them. I think it's my biomechanics and my frame not carrying much weight up there. I get up, I'm all right. Down the hills I struggle a bit. Got dropped going down it though.
All right. Sydney 10, any hills?
So I don't think I'm doing Sydney 10. My calendar's looking a bit full. I've got I think Gels Park is like the weekend after. I would love to go and smash Croaks though.
It would be good to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not hard.
O'Keefe Marathon's the same day actually. And then Gels Park's the week after. Then Great Ocean Road. And then the
O'Keefe Marathon.
And then the 8K cross country. And this is just stuff I've got in my calendar. Then the 8K cross country. You know, Bendigo's getting that AV one, second round.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of complaints about that.
There is
fucking driving. There is so.
It's better than going to Lardner Park. Warragul.
It's like, it's a long way going to Bendigo.
Hey, you guys know what we have to do every round now. That's what happens.
I asked the question again. I don't know what you've been doing or saying to Tim Crosby, but now you've got a race out there. You're in Division 1. Something's going on in Bendigo.
I'm just hoping my run on Sunday because like my race at Stall's not going to be any evidence at all to like get me a start in our Division 1 team. So I'm just hoping that Andy looks at that result and thinks it's good enough to get a run in our Premier Division team.
You have 6 people. Who is your people?
Yeah, well, Andy.
Yeah.
Nate,
who is knocking you out?
Oh, yeah, there's 2 kids that are running like 8:20, 3Ks, and it's only a 6K cross-country league. And you got Jamie the Beast Cook. Like, he's a 14, 15 guy as well. We got our second team's a Division 4 team, and there's going to be people like, there's going to be 14, 20 guys in that team.
Yeah, that's
depth.
old school Geelong, That's Geelong circa 2015.
Let's talk about some other stuff, eh? Let's thank some Patreon supporters. Bradley, kick us off.
All right. I got Jess Noble this week. Jess lives in Newcastle, and it's her birthday in the next couple of days. Hopefully it's her birthday when she actually hears this. So if that's the case, happy birthday, Jess. Has some pretty impressive PBs, 4:25 for 1,500, 9:26 for 3K, and on the weekend she ran 16:09, which was a PB at the National 5K Champs. Also ran 35:09 at Zatopek. Jess is an upcoming star with some really promising times from 1,500 to 10K. She's an all-round beautiful person and integral part of a wonderful women's running squad with the Newcastle Flyers. And I actually met Jess last year when I went up and did that 5K at Bankstown. She came up and said hello. So thanks for your support, Jess, and happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Jess.
That's a good run. Good run on the weekend.
Yeah, she got some quick PBs there.
Big run.
Did you say how old she was turning?
I think she's early 20s, I think.
Ooh, so got some
yeah,
time
so she's on the up.
She'll be a 15-30 guy in a couple of girl in a couple of years.
Yeah.
People don't care in their early 20s if you'd say how old they are. Strangely enough, I'm going to thank someone who finished higher than Jess at the national championships, which is kind of odd. Dylan Stenson. Dylan has a 100-metre PB of 11.3 seconds, a 200 PB 22.2, and then a 400-metre PB of 47.7, and 800 metres 146. And he was third in the 800-metre champs on the weekend. He's also run 3:43 for 1,500. Now, I have no idea how to work out the fastest or the best PB of this bunch. Is it the 47 or is it the 146?
Well, I'm just guessing it'd be the 146 800 because that's the event he actually does.
It looks like, if I'm thinking, I reckon the 400 was won on the weekend in like 46 mid, and then the 800 was won in what did Peter Boll run in the 800 in?
148.
Yeah, right. So, okay. It's probably the 800 PB. But the 400 PB is pretty good.
So that's a 222.
Yeah, that's fast. But think about it like this. The women are running 22.2, aren't they? For 200.
Yeah.
And 11.3.
And they're not running 47.
No, they're not. Yeah. And they're not running 146. So they're also not running 3:43. Yeah,
No,
we'll give
but
him
146 is better than 343.
All right. Dylan also has a really well-paying salary by the next bit. So he's an improvement analyst at All Water. He's an athlete for ASICS Australia. What does that mean?
That's just what it says on his LinkedIn. I just copy and paste it.
Okay. Like he represents ASICS Australia, not like he's on the Australian team. And he's a team tempo athlete. He is an experienced project engineer with a background working in the defence, shipbuilding, and utilities industry. Oh, that's impressive, isn't it? This bloke's
He's coached by Rinaldi, though, isn't he?
I think, the way that I just explained it actually on the podcast.
He was on an episode. They called
him. They're kind of like a bit of a team, I think.
Yeah.
Is that he'll run with team tempo where he can, but he gets coached by Rinaldi and crazily runs the slow, like jogs. I remember him saying he jogs at like 6-minute pace.
Real
do
speed
you remember
athlete.
that?
Yeah.
And he runs like 40K a week or something.
Yeah.
He's also married to Jess Trengove, so that's why she's called Jess Stenson. And he continues the tradition of the women in the relationship in South Australia being the power member of the couple. So there's a lot of handbag holding going on over there. You've got Jess holding Dylan's handbag this week at the.
No, I think it works for this week because Jess was holding his bag.
I fucked it up. Anyway.
Not the first time.
I made this joke the other day. It went down really well. I made fun of Lachlan Scott because he carries Caitlin's handbag while she runs and performs, and it's the same with Riley Cox and Izzy Bat-Doyle and Dylan and Jess. So, yeah, anyway, thought that was pretty funny. But
yeah, just didn't quite pull it off. Dylan,
raced really well on the weekend, 3rd place. And it was equal 3rd, right?
Equal 3rd, yeah.
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 They went to the photo and it was a draw.
How do they give that medal out?
Well, the other guy was New Zealander.
Oh, that's good.
No. So
do they both?
Yeah, so Jai, him and Jai Perrott tied.
Oh.
So Jai's coached by Ben Liddy.
Mathis. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Mathis was second.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's good to know because I didn't have Jai in that.
Oh no, sorry. Charlie Hunter was second. Mathis was 3rd,
and Stenson was 4th. But got the 3rd medal because he was the 3rd Australian. Yeah, Mathis is from New Zealand. But do you think that other guy also got a medal?
Yeah, he did because Dylan tied with Jai, not with Mathis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Mathis gets a bronze because he finished 3rd in the race, but then the equal 4th was Dylan and Jai. So they both get bronze for being equal 3rd Aussie.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Yeah.
Confusing.
Geez, some handing out some medals then, weren't they?
What's
that? 5 medals got handed out.
Before we go on, what are your thoughts on international runners competing at our national championships? Have we had this conversation before?
I don't think we have. But in events like the 800 where you take up a spot, I think it's no worries in a 5 or a 3 or something like that when you can just have 20 people in the race. But if you're kicking someone out of the final, an international athlete is for a domestic athlete. I don't know. Like, what do you do about it? Like, it's good to have international athletes there for to improve the performances and push people and give people races and things like that. But yeah, so there'd be someone in that 800 metre field, an Australian who didn't get a start because Brad Mathis did from New Zealand.
So I think for the 800, I think you could still have, because you can double up lanes. So you could have 10 people, because I think they normally have 8 in the final for the 800.
Did they though, Brad? Do you know? I'll look up the full results now.
Yeah, and so in that case, they could just double. Yeah, they had 8 in the final, so you could have easily put 9 in and had like a double up on a lane.
But they didn't know, did they?
They didn't know.
Yeah.
But you could.
But what's the point though?
What's the point of letting them in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a national championships. There's all the other classics for the internationals to run in. I don't understand why we need internationals run in a national. Like, you can't go and compete in the US Olympic trials, can you? Or you can't go and compete in the US Nationals if you're from Kenya. Like you don't see Joshua Cheptegei running in the Japanese national championships. So what's going on? Why are we doing that?
It's only benefiting them, isn't it? Like, because they get competition that they might not get at home.
Yeah, and where's the limit? Like, what about if 10 internationals enter in the 800s and the final's full of internationals? Like, is there a limit to how many internationals can be in a field? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
but that would look
a problem,
silly,
couldn't it?
Yeah, just say like the Canadian team were on a training camp over here and go, oh, we need a meet. Oh, we can run this, and they fill the field. That would look silly.
Yeah, leaving themselves wide open for that.
Well, I don't know. There might be a rule to stop that, but that's where you need a technical advisor on it, which oh boy, we're not.
Well, on that then, Moose, like pacemakers in national titles.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've said that I don't like that.
Who
I
had
said
that?
I don't like
the women's 5K.
Yeah.
The women's 5K was pace, but I mean, and look what happened. They all got qualifiers, and there's girls going to the championships because of that. So
that's the flip side. But then on the flip side of that is somebody, and look, the result probably would have been the same regardless. But somebody who strength is a sit and kick race, that's taken out of their hands to win a national title because it's run in a completely different way.
Yeah, like a Jenny Blundell.
Yeah, but see the difference though is Eloise was rightfully there. She'd run the time, hadn't she? She was qualified. She's in the race. So
yeah.
I don't actually to me that's fair game. It's bringing someone in who's not qualified to do it.
Yeah,
that's just training group tactics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like she's got her spot. She's entered the race. She's in there. And as long as I think they tell, you figure it out pretty quick, don't you?
Yeah,
that's what she's doing.
If you got a race of 8, say the 800, you're probably not getting someone in there to pace because they're going to, there's only 8 of them. You're going to have to ask someone who's a legitimate threat to the title to do that. They won't do it. Whereas you've got an open field, like 25 ladies in a 5K, then you can pull someone in for it. But yeah, it's a good. I mean, we've had this. That is a conversation we've had, and I've always thought championship races no pacing, but you can't tell someone how to race if they're legitimately qualified for that event.
And it did turn out to be probably the best distance event of the meet, that women's 5K.
And it changed people's careers.
Can I just thank my Patreon supporter, and then we might get straight to that race?
Sure.
We're still doing this. Bronte English, I'm going to thank you from Subiaco over in Western Australia there. 23:16 for the park run at Bibra Lake Park Run. Also found a 55-minute 10K at the Twilight Run in Queensland. So not sure if she's lived in Queensland and then moved to Western Australia, because potentially a 1:45 half marathon as well in Queensland. Follows Jack Rayner on Strava, but not any of us boys. She only follows a few people. No Brett Robertson, just Jack. She's got stuff really locked down, heaps of stuff on private, but in her Instagram bio she has a couple of bee emojis, so must be a big fan of the honeybee. So thanks for your support, Bronte, Dylan, Jess of the Inside Running Podcast. You boys been thinking about something you can buy for $5 that stacks up in comparison to supporting the Inside Running Podcast?
Half a gel. I mean, two gels.
You can't buy 2 gels for $5.
Yeah, you can. Coda,
hey, when I bought a couple off you would charge me like $15 a gel, I reckon.
Well, got to
How much is a Morton?
Morton's $4.95 for a normal.
Oh, there you go. 1 gel, the same price.
One Morton gel. Morton's not the only one out there. I mean, they're good, but like Coda Australian made, $2.50. If you're real tight ass like you could just take Coda.
Yeah, I might have to. I reckon they sponsored Launceston Running Festival last year.
Yeah, did you grab a gel?
No, I just saw him sitting there at the expo. Don't need a gel for 10K. Croaks, give me something that costs $5.
I don't know. You get 2 packs of hot cross buns for $6 at the moment.
2 packs.
Yes, you get 12 hot cross buns for $6.
Probably actually pretty good value. Don't give me things that are good value for $5. Give me something that's worse than the Inside Running Podcast subscription for the month.
I'll come back next week.
Powerade.
Yeah, 1 Powerade.
Especially if you buy them from the servo.
Oh.
Yeah, when the frozen Coke machines.
$8.
I was going to say 5 frozen Cokes, but that actually sounds pretty good.
That's pretty good. Think about the monthly content we put out and then see if it stacks up next to 1 Powerade. and hopefully you can support us at the Inside Run podcast on Patreon. We'll go to the national champs, boys. Tell me about this 5K, because I was at the MCG, didn't watch it. I was watching Collingwood Geelong, but you guys were watching it, I'm sure. Tell me what happened. Women's 5K first.
Well, it went out pretty sharp. So on the front of the group, we saw Eloise again, and she's been in nearly every race we've watched this year, I reckon. She took them through in 3 minutes, and then through, I reckon, under 6 minutes for 200, because they got to 2,200 and they were 6:20. So, does that mean they picked that second? What am I thinking?
They were 6:40 through 2,000.
6:40. That's right. So just slowed it slightly, but they were on pace for about 15. Would that be about 15:05 there? And it got there was a group developed, so a strong group with Jess Hull was on the back of that pack, the favourite for the race, I would say. Izzy Bat-Doyle assumed her normal position, right, tucked in behind the pacemaker. Rose, I don't think there's been anyone who's looked at the back of someone more than Rose has of Izzy Bat-Doyle this whole summer. But she was tucked in just behind Izzy, and then Callie Thackeray was behind Jess. So she, this group went off. Nat Rule was there but dropped back pretty, after maybe that second K, and just held off the back probably 30 metres. I think, I said to Brady, I'm like, oh, Callie Thackeray is really putting it out there to be in this group. And, she's run 15:26, I think. And then this group's going at 15:10 pace. This is not going to end well. I think I probably said that because that's what I was thinking at the time. But yeah, they ticked them off. Izzy went to the, after Eloise dropped out, Izzy went up to the front and took the laps from then on, sort of started to just tick off consistent laps. Didn't look like she got much quicker, didn't look like she got slower. And then Rose was just tucked in. Jess looked real comfortable. And then with I think it was probably maybe 500-600 to go, you saw Callie Thackeray come around the outside of Jess Hull when they were already starting to kick down a little bit. And I thought, whoa, what's going on here? I don't think this is a brilliant move, given that she was passing her on the bend, and it was set up for her to run really fast. But she went out there. I think she was just trying to prove a point, hey, I'm a player here. I'm not just going to get towed. And then she tucked in front of Jess for a bit, actually. I think from there, Rose went around and Jess took off with 500 to go, and we saw I guess she is the class athlete in the field. Rose wins a lot of races over here, but Jess is breaking Australian records, and that's what we saw happen. 66 second last lap. Rose came home real strong. She ran 15:06, Jess, so got the time, got the win. Rose came home really close behind her. She must have run a 67 last lap.
66, yeah.
Rose ran 66
too. Got up here. Jess ran 71:66, 66.2, and Rose. Did I say no? Jess ran that, and then Rose ran 72:66.8.
Yeah, and then Callie Thackeray has come round for third place, 15:09. She's run the qualifier for Great Britain, or for the world champs, and so very impressive. But this, a sad thing to happen. It was sad, but it was also amazing. Is Nat Rule from the back straight with probably 250 to go, with 30 metres behind the pack. She's come round past Izzy Bat-Doyle on the line to run 15:10.24. Only 0.24 seconds away from being an automatic spot at Com Games or World Champs. And then Izzy, 15:10.97, again misses the time by less than a second for the second major championships in a row.
Nat had the quickest last lap of anyone.
I'm just looking at that.
66.17, and to Izzy's 70.66. So got her in that last lap.
I saw her coming.
Yeah, 4 seconds in one lap, pulled back.
I said to Bree, I'm like, this is me bragging, but I said, Nat will get him here. And she wasn't even in the screen at that time. She said, where is she? I said, she's coming. and then down that back straight, because she's done this in a race before. I can't remember which one it was, but she runs quite smart. Maybe it was at Run the Bridge. She ran in a similar fashion. Anyway, very deep race, women's 5K. Like Lauren Ryan, 7th place, Australian representative at the last World Indoors in the 3K, ran 15:36. So that's deep.
Incredible depth. Yeah. What's it mean? It means Jess she'll go to both Com Games and World Champs if she wants to.
Yep.
Rose has the same. Well, no, because you just have to win, don't you? So even though Rose has got that quick time, she needs to still get selected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no one else has got the time, do they?
No. Oh, Lyndon doesn't have it somewhere?
I don't think so this
Not
season.
for 5, no. I think often, though, what they've done in the past, like if you finish first or second at the trial and you get the time at the trial, like you'd be pretty unlucky not to get selected, I think. So I'd say
for the World Champs.
Yeah, I think Rose is pretty much in a box seat now for the 5K if she wants it, even though she's not confirmed, unlike Jess. Like Jess is confirmed now, but Rose will have to wait, but I reckon that she's pretty safe.
I think Rose having the national 3K and 10K title next to her name as well, has a lot of credibility there. So does this mean potentially Izzy doesn't get a singlet?
Well, she can't.
Nat would be the third spot.
Well, no, there is no third spot.
There is no third spot at the moment. So one of those girls has to break.
Oh, they have to regain the time. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because I don't think the point system will.
Rundown's not going to matter.
Yeah, I don't think that'll matter. I reckon you'll have to run the time.
Yep.
For World Champs, we should be clear, because at Com Games, it comes back to your ranking in the Commonwealth, like for those extra spots on the team. Do you know what I mean? It's complicated, but for instance, like after the autos, there's a certain amount of spots left, and those spots are given to the track and field athletes who are the highest ranked in the Commonwealth, basically. So that's who will get them.
Is there a website or something you can check that?
I'm pretty sure. I'm confident that that's it, but
I know. Sorry, like where it ranks them all.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think someone was doing it on their own. Okay. Someone had their own like website or calculator that was working them out.
Because the World Champs one's good, like that Road to Oregon website. You just type in what event and then it just gives you everyone in order.
Yeah, you just go through and look at the Commonwealth athletes.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, though, that haven't qualified, they'll head over to the US soon and get into one of those, like Jordan Payton meets where everyone tends to run pretty quick. So
Isn't it Payton Jordan?
Payton Jordan, whatever, you know what I meant.
Yeah, I think Izzy landed in the US today.
Yeah, okay. And like I wouldn't be surprised, like Izzy will probably have a crack at the 10, I reckon, as well. Because I think for her, like she's like the mileage that she runs now, like she's a very strong runner. I still think the 10K down the track will sort of be where she's more suited. So I think she's got a fair bit of potential over 10K.
Isn't the 10K like 31 low though? 31.10?
31.25, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that race. The men's 5K was the same night. Matthew Ramsden got the win in 3:40. Sam McEntee second, 3:41. Sorry, what did I say?
3.
Yeah, that'd be a good run for 5K. Jack Bruce 13:42 for third. Big kick down as well. Sam McEntee tried to peel off the bend to try to pull him in, Ramsden, but couldn't quite get to him. What happened early though? I only saw the last lap.
So it got out pretty slow early, and then Michael Roger went to the front, and he was on the front for quite a while, sort of just grinding out sort of 68-second laps. And then it sort of the main pack then got whittled down to like Ramsden, McEntee, Bruce, Isaac Hayne was there, James Hansen and Potter. That was probably like the main. Potter was sort of just hanging on the back there. That was sort of the main pack for the majority of it. And then it just came down to really Ramsden and McEntee in that last lap.
And it played out like athletics should almost. You're like, oh, okay, it's been a slow race. The 1500 guy will win. And how many times do you say that when it doesn't happen? It happened in the 5K with Jess Hull winning the ladies. You're like, oh yeah, well Jess will win. She's the fastest. And it happened here as well with Ramsden. Just winning. Like it was a pretty close still last 100. Sam McEntee, like he's shown that he can be quick as well.
Yeah, well, he's run a quick 1500. I think he's run like 3:37 or something. Obviously not as quick as Ramsden, and But Sam seems to have that ability to really like accelerate quite well. She's got that, I don't know, that style where he sort of cycles through, like he's almost just on top of the ground. But it was, it was an exciting race, but I guess the top guy got the job done.
Yeah, because they were with good company over 15. Like Isaac Hayne was 4th and Jimmy Hansen 5th. Like they're two fast 1500 metre guys, and they put 5 seconds into them.
What I liked as well, so obviously Ramsden was pretty unlucky last year not to make the Olympics. There's not many countries where, what's he run, like 3:34 or something and didn't make the team. But him now winning the national title, that does sort of save him a spot. So if he can get the 5,000 qualifier between now and obviously the qualification period ending, he'll be automatic for that 5K.
Which then puts Stewie, and who else could potentially run the time for 5K?
Well, a lot of them, really. Morgan McDonald, Brett Robinson, Kai Robinson.
Dave McNeil.
Dave McNeil, yeah.
We could be leaving some good runners at home.
Still a lot of unknowns, really, a lot of variables.
Men's 800, we've spoken about that, but Peter Bold did get the win. 148.7. Charlie Hunter, this week's interview, he was second, 149.3. They talk about that early in the conversation. And then Brad Mathers third, the New Zealander, 149.5. Dylan Stenson, 149.6. And the other guy, Croaks, who drew with him,
Jai Parrott.
I didn't have that in the results because I didn't even look at the times. I just copied the first 3 medalists in there. Also ran 149.6. Anything to say there, boys? Bowles just practicing winning races again?
Doesn't look like being beaten, does he?
He's on a streak. He's on a good streak. We won't say much about that because they talk about it in the interview. Women's 800, though. Kat Bisset, gun to tape, 159.8. Claudia Hollingsworth, 202.9. And Tess Kersop-Cole, 203.3. Tell me about it, Brad.
They got out quick. So, Kat, got to the front, went through 400 in 57.65, and Hollingsworth was right with her at that point, and Kersop-Cole was actually only 0.2 behind Hollingsworth. But then I think that hot first lap really started to take its toll on the second and third place, whereas Kat just sort of, was able to sort of open up a gap on the back straight and was just too strong. So I heard the interview afterwards, like the instructions from the coach was to negative split the race, but it was 57.65 and 62.18. But impressive running. Like anytime you're going under 2 solo, it's a good run.
Yeah, sure. Pretty good at winning races. Kat Bisset over 800, and then the 1500. Bit of an upset of the meet here, boys. Maybe in the women's 1500. You reckon?
I reckon it was probably the biggest upset.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Lyndon's race to lose, wasn't it? Is she our national record holder again, or is it Jess at the moment?
It's Jess. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's either one of them. But yeah. She's the Olympic finalist. She comes to this race and she everyone just looking at what she was going to do. That's like, she was a class above everyone in the field.
And she went to the front and tried to control it, but I'm trying to think because some of this stuff nearly happened a week ago.
It was windy. It was
cold,
very windy.
A bit wet too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was windy, and it was a surprise, like, to see someone go to the front and just start, like, really pushing that far out. And I'm not sure whether it's the right play. Like, it was Lyndon's race to lose, and she took a real risk by doing that, by running it that way. And I think that she was a little surprised when she got to sort of a lap to go, and there was still girls with her, Abby and Georgia. And I just think that maybe she just, I don't know, maybe like if she had her time again, she probably wouldn't do it the way that she did it.
But like they weren't running, like yes, she was leading, but they weren't running that quick.
But it was windy, really windy.
Yeah, but I guess like going into that race, like, Lyndon's got to have that self-belief that she's the class act, and she can win it sort of any way she wants, which didn't happen. But like, I'm sure that's the way that she goes into it thinking. You know, like she can sit and kick, or she could just sort of, you know, run them off their legs, because she's, you know, you saw how strong she was last season when she broke 4 on her own at Box Hill.
That's true.
But she didn't run at that pace though, did she? That's the difference.
No, it was slow. It was slow. Like they went through,
and then the girls behind her are 4:04 girls.
Yeah, like it was 54.5 through 300, and then the next lap after that was 67. Like 67 is not quick for, you know, someone like Lyndon, even if it is windy.
Yeah, so Abby Caldwell got the win. She ran 4:10.7. George Griffiths was second, 4:11.2. Lyndon in third, 4:12.4. Abby Caldwell, I think, unbeatable all summer here in Australia. Melbourne Track Classic, got that win up at Bankstown. I think she won somewhere else as well. A few Vic Mile clubs.
You're saying she hasn't been beaten?
Hasn't been beaten all summer. Even one of those Vic Mile clubs, she won the 15 and the 3, remember, the same night?
Yeah.
I think she's gone a whole summer, hasn't lost a race.
Wow.
And she just missed going to Tokyo. But now she's, as you said before, similar to Ramsden Croaks on the women's side.
Yeah,
this is the female example.
Yep.
Just left off the team. Now she's got the spot. Just needs to go hit the time.
Mm-hmm.
One to watch.
What is the time?
I picked her. One to watch.
I think I picked her at the end of the year awards, actually, for one to watch.
You had Sinead.
Actually, I was talking to Sinead on the start line at Run for the Kids. She said, how's Croker going? Hasn't changed his mind against those awards yet? She's like, yeah, she wasn't happy, Brad. I wasn't happy. She wants to know how many Run for the Kids Jai Edwards has won. I said, I don't know how many Sinead, but not as many as you. But anyway. Oh, this is bullshit, by the way. Please.
Should we talk about the men's 1500 then?
Yeah, men's 1500. Well, this was a similar thing, wasn't it? Clash went to the front, and who we expected to go to the front? Ollie Hoare, but he did turn it up.
He pulled it off, didn't he?
Yeah.
Pulled it off. Yeah. And yeah, you've got a bloke like Matt Ramsden behind you. There's got to be a certain amount of like, should I wait or should I go? But yeah, I mean, Ollie Hoare, again, we know he's Olympic finalist. Is similar boat to Lyndon without the national records, really, isn't it? Probably younger. Maybe doesn't have quite the international experience Lyndon does, but still has some confidence and showed that by going to the front with 3 laps to go, 3 laps to go.
He ran the last 800 in 1:48, didn't he?
1:48
high, yeah.
2.5 laps then, yeah. So he ran the 800 in the same time that
Pete Bowl won the 800 in.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
0.2 of a second behind.
I mean, he gets a running start, but gee, that's pretty good.
He would have beaten Charlie Hunter. Different races, like it's a different.
Yeah.
Theirs was tactical, maybe, but yeah, that's what it looks like though.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, he only ran 3:40, so that first 600 or whatever must have been very slow.
Yeah, so they went like 46.8 through the first 300, and then the next lap was 65.
Yeah.
Which, you know, for these guys, they're normally, you know, rolling around 57s like for every lap when they're really going for it.
Cal Davies in third, 3:42. It's good to see him get a medal. He's been knocking on the door for a while. And then the steeples, the last thing at the Australian Champs. Matthew Clark got the win in the men's, 8:32.6. Looks super strong, out hard. Max Stevens led a bit in the middle, and then Clarkey come home. You know, put 7 seconds into the field, into the last 2 laps there, and he looked good. Plenty of emotion, seeing him cross the line, punch the chest kind of thing. Max Stevens, his training partner, was second in 8:39. And Liam Cashin, big PB from him, the boy from Western Athletics, he ran 8:43. So some good results there. Good to see Cashin.
Didn't even know he ran the steeple.
Well, I think he did his first one at Vic Countries in Bendigo in January. And he got smoked up by that Archie Noakes kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think he ran like 9:10 or something. So he's come out and, he destroyed this.
Practiced it.
Yeah, and then his sister, Amy Cashin, came out and won the 3K, the women's race, the steeple. Olympian Amy Cashin from Tokyo. She ran 9:37. This was a great race. Brielle Erbacher was second in 9:38. And then Cara Fee and Ryan was 9:40. But they all came across the water jump, the last one together. Then it was a big sprint finish. Great to watch this one. And Amy, first time I've kind of heard her interviewed post-race. And she was, really well spoken. I'm not sure if you guys heard that. Just really down to earth and had some good answers.
Bit different to Liam then. So
higher IQ, I think. She's staying over in the States at college doing her masters or doctorate or something.
Oh wow, yeah. This has been an event all year though. That's been pretty good races out of it. The women's steeple, like pretty close ones towards the end. So that's that's a big win there. Like we've seen Urbacher close that last off the water jump really well the last couple of races.
That's Australian champs. Did I hear because I missed the Saturday night, but did Jeff Risely retire during one of the races in his interview?
Yeah, so they interviewed Peter Boll after he won the 8, and he sort of dropped that Jeff was retiring.
Okay.
And then they went and tracked down Jeff while the men's 5K was on, and then they interviewed him. Yeah. And
he's hung up the spike. That's it.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
4-time Olympic Games representative. Good career from Jeff. Wait and
very good.
See social media. Hopefully something more official.
I'd love to move like he does. How smooth is he?
4 times Olympian.
4 times over a tough event.
Yeah.
Like hard to qualify in those 8:15s too, I reckon.
There's always some young kid coming through.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll see if we can get him on for a bit of a chat. Newcastle Marathon happened, fellas. This was a bit of a rumour floating around last week, and it kind of come true. Sarah Klein went out there and she ran 2:30.49, so a big PB from her. She won the race overall. Her training partner Ben Kelly was 1 second behind, who I assume paced her the whole way, and then he stayed out there and won the men's race. So not quick enough to get that time, but she could be looking at a roll down spot for world champs if it happens, if their spot's available.
Oh, I don't think roll down spots.
Roll down.
Nah.
We've got so many girls that already got the time.
Not if 3 of them go to Com Games.
Roll down that's the world.
Yeah, no, there's not going to be roll down.
Points aren't going to matter in the world champs.
Not in the marathon.
77. I'm on it now. 77. Oh no, 100 spots. Yeah, 20 spots per roll down.
Making it 100 is helpful, but this won't be helpful. Like, that won't be roll down material there.
Let me check at the moment if it's happening. Oh, Ali's here, Moose.
What do you mean?
Ali's in this roll down.
Her time won't have counted from...
She's 97th. She hasn't got time. She's in on points.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Olympic Games, you have to run the
Olympics,
distance at some point.
Her Olympics, she's on for points. And Hobart half marathon. That's her second scoring race.
Oh, God.
She scored more points, actually, at Hobart than she did at the Olympics.
How fucked is that?
Yeah.
And Hobart wasn't even fast.
She scored 4 more points by running 71.
How good is the point system?
That is, a good example.
Jesus Christ.
At the moment they're taking points on this website. The person who... Yeah, there's 80 people who have the time.
Yeah.
No,
what do you mean?
Not.
Like,
there's 77 people who have run 2:29.30 with the 3 per country rule.
Yeah,
and then it goes to points. There's 78th person at the moment qualified. It's off points.
That isn't updated with Manchester and Newcastle and...
Sarah Klein's not on here at the moment with her Newcastle result. And,
Rotterdam and Paris, and there was another one.
Happening.
There was another one yesterday, like a Lisbon, and then there was a huge one actually yesterday.
Barcelona, wasn't it?
No, it was like northern Germany.
Okay.
Anyway,
there's a few races still to come.
Yeah,
you reckon we'll fill it up though?
I reckon it will be.
Also, Millie Clark, she ran a marathon in Paris. She ran 2:41.35. So, what does that mean, boys? And Ed Goddard ran 2:13.45 at Manchester.
Well, good by Ed. He just ran a PB, so kudos to him. He was in a pack with some guys. One of them ended up running 2:10, so Johnny Mellor, he kicked away.
Cramps the last 5K, I think, on Strava, Ed Goddard.
Yeah, it's a marathon. He looks good though. He's going to be a good runner. He'll run 2:10 one day, I reckon. 2:10, 2:11. He's still so young, and he's still so crazy.
Puts in the training, puts in the miles.
Yeah, he's going to nail it. He's going to get to that one where he ticks it off. But yeah, so for Ed, I mean, he'll put his hand up for Com Games, won't he?
Yep. Discretion spot.
Yeah. So when you start talking discretion, you've got to look at no one looked at the criteria, did they?
Mate, I've been busy.
Since last week. No, we didn't look. But for Millie, yeah, I mean, that's everything but helpful for her, because if they start looking at like form, even though it's not close to the race, they go off her last marathon, not a great result there.
If she was looking to get a Com Game spot, you mean? She's still got to qualify for World Champs.
Well,
from Melbourne in December. But it's interesting though, isn't it? That
yeah. So if they all nominate, which I think they have, so Eloise, Millie, Jess,
Sinead.
And Sinead as well.
Sinead's already locked for one though.
Yeah. So Sinead's locked. I think the others, Eloise and Jess both nominated for Com Games as well. Then there's, then like Millie will go to the World Champs, won't she?
She will.
She's got an automatic spot.
But then you've got someone like Sarah Klein who's just run 11 minutes quicker than her. Not going.
Nah, that won't matter.
Because she didn't hit the time in the period.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. It's just an interesting one though, isn't it?
Millie's going.
Ed Goddard got out for an hour, 65 minutes this morning at 4:28 post-race. Says on his Strava here, 3 weeks to recover.
Oh, Ed.
What's in 3 weeks' time?
You scare me, Ed.
Like a Hamburg or something?
Oh, he's going again, you reckon?
Oh, maybe.
Fucking hell.
Watch this space. Watch that space there.
Wait, he ran an hour at 4:28 today.
Yep.
Gee, the cramps couldn't have been that bad.
He said pulled up DC, which I guess means decent, 3 weeks to recover.
That's some inner Sydney urban slang for you.
Yeah. It's over my head in a Chukamoema. And then, yesterday, those last 5K cramps. That was his comments about Manchester.
All right.
So, that's that. Kai Robinson, he also ran at 13:23 over in the States. He'll make the team, boys.
Yeah,
he's the best 5K runner in Australia potentially coming up soon.
Well,
Stewie McSwain.
We'll make
the
the
something from Stewie though. Not sure what's going on with him.
He'll make the steeple if he doesn't make the 5.
Oh yeah, has he ran that in this period?
No, but he'll run. I'm sure he'll run one if he doesn't get the 5K. And he was, because I think he's already has he got the standard? He's run pretty quick over the steeple, and he's obviously, I reckon he's improved as a runner since then.
There's not that many opportunities though. He's run 15:23 here, Stanford invite. That's a good opportunity. So you say, he'll make the team, but you got to do it, and he's getting the chances here. So I'm not why do you think he'll do it, Brady?
Hasn't he already? He ran 13:21 earlier the year. So right.
So I don't know.
What is
the time?
13:15.
No, it's like 13:13,
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a big chunk, isn't it, Moose? 10 seconds.
Like you said, Peyton Jordan, maybe like a fast Mount Sac or something. But yeah, it's got to, you can't keep going and going and going. So you push this out for another 3-4 weeks. At some point, your long-ass season's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, and he's been up for a while. 13.5 got a hit. That's it for running news. Quite a lot there because we've been going for a long time, boys. What about we wrap things up?
Yeah, happy with that.
Happy with that. You want to just tell me, we know what's coming up for you, Croaks. You're going to Canberra. Boston's coming up in 2 weeks' time. Michael Roger in action there, so that's going to be something good to watch. Anything else happening in your life, Moose?
Yeah, I got the Run Strong training camp down the Surf Coast.
Is that this weekend?
Yep, so we're planning that right now. Looks like good weather, actually. Still a couple of spots. It's going to be late call though, but it's going to be good weather. We've got the trails marked out. Poor boy.
Take people out on the paddleboard.
Yeah, I was going to say Saturday Arvo, easy 35 minutes has been replaced by a paddle.
I might take a couple out. A couple of people who want to learn what it's like to be alive.
Couple of listeners, listener names down there.
Yeah, a few listeners there. How
many you got attending, Moose?
Got about 20 at the moment.
20?
Yeah. 20, well, COVID's knocked a few around.
What did you think you were going to get when you first...
How many spots do you have available?
250 spots. But look, filling quick. So No, 20's great. 20's like pretty much what we wanted.
Yeah, real intimate.
You don't want to be big and gross. You want to be nice and like personal. Everyone can get a drink on the run. I'll spend a bit of time riding with people.
Take the e-bike out.
Yeah, take the e-bike. Got Jeff Rothwell coming to talk about nutrition. So it'll be good.
Very good. All right, fellas, we'll wrap up the interview coming up. Charlie Hunter, three-time Olympian, third fastest all-time over 800 metre, one-time Olympian from Tokyo, coached by Pete Julian in that group. Interesting, I've only heard like first 30, 40 minutes, but interesting hearing about how he got to Oregon, because he was there with Cole Hocker and Cooper Tier. So a pretty decent collegiate group there. Another one from Luke Matthews, so a massive thanks to Luke for putting this one together. And it's a long one as well, so we might break it into two, depending on where you're listening to this show. Patreon, you'll have it all, but might be half now for the iTunes, Spotify crowd, and half next week. We're done, boys. See you later.
Have a good week.
See ya.
See ya. New Balance's Fresh Foam X range represents a revolutionary advancement in the material that cushions the high-impact foot strikes that occur on roads, tracks, courts and fields everywhere. Informed by 3D motion captured pressure mapping and force application data gathered from real athletes, Fresh Foam is softness quantified. Convex and concave geometric structures are utilised within the midsole and sidewall to optimise the balance between cushioning and stability, offering a pinnacle experience across the widest population of users. And New Balance is excited to introduce the version 12. As the heel counter has been updated and rebuilt with memory foam, while the forefoot mesh has improved elastic action. The geometrics of the midsole cushioning in the lateral forefoot have been improved to be more structured, overall resulting in a longer lasting and more supportive everyday running shoe.
Today's guest is Charlie Hunter. Charlie is a professional middle distance athlete based out of Oregon in the United States. He was an incredibly talented junior runner, winning multiple national medals and representing Australia at the World Cross Country Championships in 2015. In 2018, Charlie decided to join the famous distance team at the University of Oregon. Throughout his time at college, Charlie won 2 NCAA championships and was fortunate enough to break the NCAA DMR record. His successful junior college career finished by qualifying for the 2021 Olympics, representing Australia in the 800 metres. He holds an impressive PB of 144.35, which ranks him third on the all-time Australian list. Post-college, Charlie signed a contract with Nike and joined the Union Track Club under Pete Julian, training alongside Donovan Brazier, Craig Engels, and Jessica Hull. Charlie, thanks for coming on, mate. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, Luke.
Hey, where are you based at the moment?
On the Central Coast, back home with mum and dad.
Yeah, nice. So at the time of recording, it's currently Monday, April the 4th, which is the Monday following the Australian National Championships, which you flew back for. Before we get into that, just want to ask, a lot of the time when you see these Australians based in America, they often don't come back for the national championships. So what was the main motivation for you actually coming back to begin with?
It was there were 2 reasonings. One primarily was to compete and race, and I just don't think you can undervalue the importance of championship racing. It's a certain thing that you just really can't replicate, and every opportunity you get, I think you need to take it. So I definitely wanted to come back to compete with Bowl, because I don't think I've actually ever raced him. So it was to do that, be competitive. The idea was to secure, put in some good yards with regards to Athletics Australia, so that they could potentially pick me for world champs and Com Games. But it's also just great to get home. I spent a lot of time abroad, so it's great to be back home with the family. And there's been some additions to the family, so it was great to finally meet my brother's first child, which is awesome. And then additionally, I kind of had to get my visa sorted, so I'm back here trying to get a new visa.
Yeah, it's actually funny because you and I both share the same agent, which is Stephen Haas, and he actually called me about half an hour ago, and he said that you're running into a bit of visa issues, but I forgot to ask you beforehand. But yeah, you're saying that maybe you need to stay here or maybe go back to America, and you got to work it all out. So with that, obviously, that's to get a visa to potentially stay in America long term, to then so you can pretty much, almost work, which is being a professional athlete. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm currently on a student visa, but that's since expired. So yeah, I just got to get this new visa, which allows me to work and stay in the States.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, just touching on when you went before, it's pretty interesting to note. It's like, I feel like maybe when I started making teams, if you ran a time, that was pretty much good enough to get you selected. Whereas now, if you look at the depth of the men's 800, 1500 and 5K, and even the marathon, it's one of those, maybe marathon's a bit different because they don't have a championship, but it's one of those things now where nationals is going to have a lot more weight and a lot more priority because, if you win that, you pretty much secure your ticket to the national championship. So it's kind of one of those things where it's average that you have to fly back and compete. But at the same time, it just shows that the depth of Australian running is getting better and better. Specifically in the two events that you and I like the most, which makes it tougher. So yeah, as I said before, the Monday following the national championships, you were second behind Peter Bowl in 149.31. So yeah, just give me pretty much, because I actually spoke to you just beforehand and I said, what are the tactics? And you said, I've actually got no idea. So now, speaking, going into the final, what actually were the tactics and what was the way that you were going to take down Pete? Because as it is at the moment, Pete is he's in some form and he looks pretty hard to beat. I'm actually pretty happy. Not happy, but I'm glad I'm injured because he'd be scary to race right now.
Yeah, Pete's actually a great bloke and he's a fantastic racer. And as you said, he's just on this little hot streak at the moment. So he's got some good momentum going and he's just a class act at the moment. I think he came fourth at Tokyo. So, he's a high-end athlete and he's going to be hard to beat no matter who you are at the moment. Yep. But the plan going in was to do exactly what I did, actually. I ran the perfect race, or what was asked of me. And that was to sit in, stay relaxed, make sure you're there with 200 to go, but don't make a move until the home straight. And I did exactly that. I think I actually ran a really smart race. I moved to the front with relative ease and I held my nerve to not go early. I bit my time. And Pete just kind of has that little bit of an extra gear over me. And that's all she wrote. Unfortunately, I couldn't get him. But in hindsight, plan A, which is what I did, was the best plan because there was a bit of weight involved with the race. And you just never know. Everyone was really there. So it was very important for me to come top 2. And I did that, job done, but it would have been great to get the win. And knowing how plan A worked out, I think I might have maybe gone to the front a little earlier and just got to the front so I wasn't reacting off of Pete. Pete may have been reacting off of me, but that's all hindsight and that's just racing. Championship racing and time trial racing are two different things. And I think I'm heading up to Brisbane next week to have a crack at a quicker time. And I'll probably be a bit more aggressive with my racing come there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's like obviously with championships, like it is a different dynamic because you've got heats and finals. But I think another thing as well is that I feel like a lot of the time when you would have raced championships, you've probably raced in 25-degree weather. This was probably the first time you've probably had a major a championship where it's been raining and wind and all these other factors. Was there anything, with the weather that kind of changed your mindset going into it? Or did you have the same mindset, whether it was 10 degrees or whether it was 30 degrees?
I've adapted this mindset over this past kind of 2 years of no matter what the conditions, no matter who I'm racing against, you go out there and just give it a red hot crack. I've put in all this bloody work. I just want to have no doubts with how I race. So if it's blowing a gale or if it's pissing down rain, I just want to run really hard.
Yeah.
And that was the case in the heat and final. The heat, I was, as you said, the weather is a bit different to what I'm kind of used to. And so the heat, I was in the preliminary round, I was absolutely rooted come the race. I think I messed up my warm-up and my warm up clothing because I typically wear layers, and there was no need for that on the day. And I was so rooted come the heat, but I actually changed that for the final, and I felt a lot better. But yeah, generally it's just, show up, have the confidence that you've done the work, and just prove it. Do the work. Don't leave any doubts, and that typically works pretty well.
Yeah, and yeah, like I think just looking at the race, I mean, it did seem like Pete had a pretty good run at it, and I feel like you threw everything you could at him. But at the same time, I feel like one of Pete's flaws or his weaknesses was really that last 200 or that last 300, and seems like now it's become one of his strongest parts of the race. So to be that close, in April. I think that you and Pete are both looking like you're going to have a pretty big season. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see you both. But the other race, which happened recently, which was the weekend before National Championships, or maybe the one before that, was the World Indoor Championships. And you were fortunate enough to qualify and then be selected. I'd say it probably wasn't the result that you were after. But that was, your second major Australian senior team. Run me through the selection for the team, and then also at the same time how you can compare a world major championships, which is the indoors, and compare to how that indoor championships is different to, say, the NCAA championships, or even just some of the American track league races that you've done leading up to the world championships.
Yeah, so the qualification process was like most championships. You got to get a standard, and then I guess the unique thing for Australia is we don't have indoors, so people that are based in the US have a big advantage. So I had known from the start of the year that I want to make every team that I possibly can. I don't think you can undervalue wearing the green and gold and putting 100%. Yourself in those championship settings. It's invaluable. When I end my career, I just want to have as many uniforms as I can and build up as much experience as I can, because it's just something you can't replicate, and it is a unique situation that not everyone thrives off of. And unfortunately, I think I'm just someone that'll get better and better with experience. So thankfully, the 2021 indoor season, I was able to rack up some pretty good times, and that's pretty much what enabled me to qualify. This indoor season, it's been a big change for me, and unfortunately the races didn't go quite as planned, so I didn't quite have the lead up I'd like, but just gave it my best crack, and I was able to qualify, and that was the main thing. So I showed a bit of form and was able to compete. The difference between an indoor, like an international indoor race, and I guess the collegiate system, I don't think there's much at all, honestly. It's the collegiate system's so well built up that, especially at Oregon too, it's so professional, and it really bridges that gap. Like there's really no difference. It's just show up and expect to race hard. The only thing I'd say is different maybe is the competition. The thing I've noticed is, especially in the 800, it's very physical. Like you got to be really decisive with your moves. You've really got to kind of have your wits about you, and just got to, I don't know, you just got to be, I'm not going to pretend like I figured it out, because I haven't, but it's a kind of a next cut above. Like everyone is very, very competitive. It's a bit more physical, and you just got to be, I don't know. I think you just got to be really in it,
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak for indoors because I've never actually been on an indoor track, and yeah, I'd say yeah, with the 800, even outdoors, it is pretty physical. But I think the biggest thing that you realize once you get to a major championship is everyone is so fucking good, and everyone. A lot of, if there's 45 people on the start list of an 800, 40 of them are peaking. So it's like it's tough. So I get what you mean by that, and it's a next level. And also at the same time as well, I think you kind of said something good there as well, is that Oregon, does tend to get athletes, train them in a way where they're kind of ready for that next step. But I'd almost say that, the handful of collegiate athletes, when they do make a major championship, like a USA's or even an Australian team or whatever it might be, they do tend to go really well. And I just think that comes on the back of the collegiate system just being a great factory for athletes. But then at the same time, it just teaches people how to race. And if you look at Matt Centrowitz in, 2011 or 2012 or 2011, and you look at him competing now, he's got the exact same tactics and he's a beast. So it's good to know. But yeah, look, the reason why I think I'm interested to have you on, and also at the same time with Inside Running, is that, you're our third best 800 meter runner ever based on time. You've won 2 NCAA championships, one of them in a relay, one of them an indoor. You came third at the most recent outdoor NCAA championships. But, I feel like you and I have a pretty good relationship. We probably speak a couple of times a week, albeit over text message and Facebook and what have you. But even at the same time, there's still this curiosity and this unknown factor about Charlie Hunter from me. And at the same time, I feel like if you started to see Charlie Hunter's name through 2017, 2018, 2019, I feel like a lot of people would have been like, who is this guy? And I feel like a lot of people, don't really know your story. So I'm, I think it's going to be interesting for people listening, but it's also going to be interesting to myself because I've been fortunate enough to spend some time around you. But yeah, there's still a lot of stuff that I don't know about you as well. So this is why I thought you were a perfect guest to come on. So yeah, I just want to, pretty much let's just go right back to the start. So based out of the Central Coast, as you said, I think you're based out of a place, or you've ran for Gosford. Yeah, just run me through, what it was like as a junior. Who was your first coach? How did you get into athletics? And also at the same time, what other sports were you balancing or doing at the same time?
Yeah, so I grew up on the Central Coast in Gosford. I've always been very athletic. Came from a very sporting background family and was kind of pushed into everything. It's kind of a coastal community, so the ocean kind of surrounds your life. So I grew up on the beach doing nippers and things like that. So bit of everything. There was no specificity. There was no rhyme or reason with what I did. But I guess school sport typically started around soccer and rugby. They were the main team sports that I did in school. But I was always kind of known as the runner. I'd always had a bit of a predisposition to running, but there was no specificity towards it. So up until probably about middle school, about middle school, my grandfather was he acted as my coach at the time, and we just go for like a couple training runs 2 or 3 times a week just to, I don't know. It was I think it really developed our relationship, and those were very fond memories to me. But that training just kind of helped me towards a bit of running and soccer and rugby. There was no specificity. I wasn't like Morgan McDonald where I was winning juniors from the very first age group. I still remember I was 3rd reserve for state cross country. That was my first kind of memories of running. I was 3rd reserve for state cross country, and instead of being held at Eastern Creek Raceway, it was actually at Gosford Racecourse down the road from me. And I got the call up the day before the race, and I think it came dead last. So I don't come from a very good running pedigree. It's something I've definitely kind of worked at, but it was established from an early age that I just loved running. I was pretty decent at it, and it's just what I chose to do. Come fast forward now to like junior school, and it's become clear that I'm feeling like I'm growing a bit. I'm obviously not built like a linebacker, so rugby's not really the sport for me anymore. Soccer didn't really take, and running was my sport. So I started to get a bit more specific with it, and I picked up a local coach. And at the time, it was a really, really good squad. You might remember Cam Page, like a fantastic junior, David Mainwaring, Kevin Batt. There was a good stable of runners, Australian junior runners at the time.
What was his name, or the coach's name?
Kevin Wills, a pretty alternative kind of guy. Very grassroots.
Yeah, I remember. Because I went to World Juniors in 2014, and he used to coach Georgia Wassell, and Georgia Wassell came 3rd at that World Juniors, and man, I remember seeing some of her training and what she used to do. And the biggest one for me was every single race she did. And mind you, this was a girl that ran 2:01 when she was 17, like a fucking beast. Her warm-up for the World Junior Championships was on a bike, on a stationary bike. So everywhere we went, she had to bring the anchor thing, and she'd bring like a
trainer.
Yeah, and a $2,000 bike everywhere we'd go. And I remember I got stuck fucking carrying it a few times. But just to add another little bit of uniqueness to it as well. But yeah, sorry, yeah, keep going just with the group you had. Because yeah, Cam Page, I think it was 2013 national 5K champion, 3:37, 3:54 mile, maybe like a 13:33 5K, I think.
Yeah, like a really, really good squad.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm really fresh to the group. I'm very shy, but I saw these guys as maybe 5 years older than me, and they were superstars at the time. Like they were winning national and state cross. Like to me, that was top tier. So that was what I strove for. And like those guys were winning state cross country, and I think medaling regularly at national cross and track. And I thought, geez, like that's as good as it gets. So that was what I was striving for. The training itself was it was tailored towards running, but I was being trained as a triathlete. I was in the pool at 5 a.m. doing ridiculous pool sessions, and I was probably only doing close to 20K of running a week, but that running was like speed drills, and I'd be on the bike for 2.5 hours. Like it was very alternative training, but it was extremely, extremely demanding. And I'm the type of guy that if you tell me to do something as a coach, I'm going to do it. If you say jump, I say how high. Like I'm just the type of guy that'll really dive into it, probably to a detriment. And so I really immersed myself in that training, and that carried through to my senior year of high school. And I was totally committed to my training. And this type of training was just so out there and extreme that it was very, very demanding. And I had a lot of success with it. As I said, I started where I was barely making state cross country to, I think my senior year, I won every state cross country. I think there was 3 at the time, state short course, whatever. I think I came 3rd at the national cross country in Albany. I was the Australian under 20 1500 meter champion, which was a huge breakthrough for me. I'd never won a national title. And I was in fantastic shape. I probably wouldn't have won the 5K tour if I ran it. So I was actually kind of hitting my straps at that point. And at the time, my ambitions were to run professionally, but I really wasn't on that next level. You were at the age group above me, and you guys were a bit of cut above me. You were running a bit quicker. I just kind of had this mentality of sit and kick, and I wasn't going to get too far with that. And I strove to be professional, but I definitely wasn't on that level to become professional. And yeah, so I was kind of left finishing high school being, all right, I'm a really good runner, but I'm not quite good enough to go to that next level. And I was kind of in limbo from there. But
yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of like it's one of those things. Like it was almost like a pretty linear trajectory, though. Like you hear those stories a lot, like the kids where it's like, oh, they're thereabouts, but then by the tail end of their juniors, they're doing some good things, and then they kind of, as they get into their seniors, they come into their straps. And yeah, just another thing as well. It's like, I mean, you look at that group that you're a part of, and a lot of success, a lot of national medals, like a lot of good things came from that group. And I just remember, man, it's so funny. Like I'd honestly forgotten about that coach until I started interviewing. And I remember watching a session one day. It was of Georgia Wassell and Cam Page, and they did like a 1K hard time trial on a velodrome on the bike. Like literally like what you see on in the Olympic cycling. They went straight onto the inside, which had a grass track. And then they did like a 300 meters flat out in bare, like no shoes. And yeah, and I remember seeing some stuff of you like back in the day, and a lot of your stuff was bare feet running. Yeah, just interesting and a different way to train. But I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of, as you touched on, like your junior career kind of finished with a national championships, but you also in 2015, which was your final year as a junior, you were fortunate enough to qualify for the World Cross Country Championships in the junior race. And I think this was a bit of an infamous team because I think everyone bar Morgan McDonald on that junior team finished in the hundreds. And I think you were 106th. Sorry to talk about the bad times, but I think the bad times make the good times even better. So what did you make of the World Cross? Because I just remember watching that back at home. It was at I think it was at 1,300 meters altitude. Nobody went on an altitude training camp to get ready. And the junior race, man, I feel like that's tough because the people that win that end up winning Olympic gold medals the following year. So run me through that trip in China and run me through the 106th place.
Yeah, that was brutal. I don't know what to tell you. I think actually at the time I had been distancing myself from my coach. I think I may have been self-coached there for a little bit. So I don't know, it was a bit of a blur, but I was so stoked to make a team. I was running really good, but just a bit lost at that time. I think some people do get, you finish high school, you're kind of in limbo. You don't really know what you're doing. And unfortunately, I didn't come from a team background. You guys in Melbourne, you always had a squad. You had good infrastructure around you. I was very alone. I didn't really have best kind of preparation for a national team so it was cool, great to be a part of an Australian team for sure. And but yeah, as you said, I didn't even know it was altitude. I don't think anyone told us that it was altitude, but geez, I would categorize the World Junior Cross as one of the hardest and most competitive races in the world.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I'd say that as well. It is tough because I remember in 2013, the year that I just missed out on making that team, but Gebra Hewat won. He won the junior race in 2013. I think the year before he'd ran 12:50 for a 5K, and later on that year, I think he came second or third to Mo Farah in the world 5Ks in Moscow. So you get these young Kenyans and Ethiopians who are pretty much ready to go, and there's 6 in each team. So I think it's a tough team. Even World Juniors on the track is tough as well, and it can be pretty disheartening as well. So it's tough. It's tough. I think as well, it probably shows as well. You do have that real disheartening factor. I like the way the Europeans have it, where they have that under 23 age and they have those under 23 championships. I think that'd be a great thing to have, because if you weren't motivated like the way you are and you had that 106th place, you might have left the sport because you thought maybe I'm not good enough. All right. So yeah, you finished off even though, you finished off juniors in a good spot. You'd made a national team, national championship. I feel like the rest of 2015 and 2016, you're just kind of finding your feet. But I think probably the big thing, and probably the one moment where you probably started to get a little bit more on the radar was, well, definitely on my radar, I suppose, was the tail end of 2016. And I'm really glad that you did this, because I feel like this was the basis of our relationship and friendship, which I really value. You joined Melbourne Track Club, and you joined technically were coached by Nick Bedeau. And so, just a little, how did you go about joining the Melbourne Track Club? How did you go about contacting Nick? And what was the process from changing from your current system to joining somewhat a professional group in Australia?
I think there's something else I should add on before that happened, because I think that was important. As I said, my trajectory as a junior was going fantastic on paper, but I think I was very lost because at the time I had transitioned from my coach, and I'm based on the Central Coast. I hadn't grown up on traditional running values, so I don't even start my running clock until my first year with Melbourne Track Club, because I wasn't training as a runner.
Yeah.
So my running knowledge was incredibly low. I was very, very insulated. I hadn't established good running connections and relationships, and I was really broken. I was really run down. Mentally, I just wasn't in a good spot to keep running, and my heart wasn't in it. And like you said, most people, they're just trying to find their feet at that time. So I went through probably an 18-month period where I wasn't even running. I was just kind of just trying to stay afloat. And I think my first step in the right direction, I reached out to Jeff Risely.
Oh, that's right. You went to Falls Creek with him. I remember that. Yeah.
Jeff was the only real connection I knew. And Jeff was a fantastic mentor to me. He really, I would say he was the first person to show me the ropes and just introduced me to what real running was. And as you said, I went up to Falls Creek. I just got exposed to what running was about, the running community, how to train properly, how to eat, sleep, train, repeat. And that was a great introduction. And I think that rekindled that love for running and just gave me that spark of like, all right, this is what I need to be doing. So Jeff was a fantastic mentor to me and a good friend to this day, who's actually just retired, which should pay mention to a fantastic career. Yeah, from there, I think at that point, that's when I said, all right, I need to get a group. I need to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who have the same goal and to be coached, not to cast shade on Kevin, but like coached to be able to run.
Yep.
So for me, that was really on the Australian circuit. Nick Beddoes kind of got it wide. So for me at the time, I thought, all right, I just need to be around those guys. So for me, that was Nick's Sydney base, which was the Sydney Track Club, coached by Nick Bromley. And at the time, we had Stapo, and I think Josh Phillips was there, and Ed Goddard. So it was a good group of guys.
It was a good little, it was actually a great little setup. And because I remember Gregson would base there like tail end of the year. And I remember seeing him knock out like 8 by a K at Rotary, and it seemed like there was like 10 blokes there. So it actually looked like a great setup.
Yeah, we were just trying to replicate what you had. Like you guys had a really good setup.
Yeah.
But I was still based on the coast, so I just go down 2 or 3 times a week to do a session. And I was just trying to figure it out. I was really thrown to the wolves with how to run and Nick's approach is pretty standoffish, I guess you could describe it. Like he's not a lovey-dovey. He's not going to hold your hand through it all. So you really
that's weird. I had a completely different experience. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, it was a tough learning curve. But in that first year when I joined the Sydney Track Club, I had pretty drastic results. I had gone from my times hadn't changed in 3 years. So I went from running 350 for the 1500 to running 342 at the end of the year.
Yep.
And I had made the Australian Open 1500 final, had a red hot crack, sat at the front, just my inexperience showed up.
Actually, just on that one, I remember. Actually, it's all coming back to me now because I felt like I was just kind of going to gloss over 2017, but I remember that national championships. I felt like that was a real like Gregson v Ramsden v Guzman, like Clash of the Titans. And I remember at the Bell, you fucking went for it. Like you tried to make that race your own. And like I remember you had Gregson, like, Gregson was, he'd just come off an Olympic final, so he was in red hot form. But yeah, you made everyone work for it. That was, that was actually a great race. And you actually were pretty much the main guy putting the moves in. But yeah, sorry. Yeah,
I led that because it was terrible conditions, and I think I found myself at the front. Yeah, I ended up leading it probably from the first 200, and rang the bell, and I absolutely went like the clappers.
Yeah,
and I just went full pelt and come the home straight. I was absolutely rooted, but yeah, it was a good race. Like a good mentality to have. That's a mentality I'm trying to keep to this day. Just race hard no matter who's there. But yeah, that was a big turning point for me. I was primarily focused on the 1500 that season, and I took 8 seconds off in one season, and I really extended my season. I did Australian champs, and then I went with you guys to Mount Laguna.
Yep.
Extended the season. I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to be around you guys, and I just wanted to learn. I was a bit of a running nerd. I kind of idolized you guys at the time, and I just wanted to soak it up as best I could. I think did that camp at Mount Laguna, went horrendously, trained terribly. I was absolutely put in the hole. I think I ran 3:52 at that Oxy meet.
Yeah.
That's right, Jess. That was horrible. And I think I was told to go home. I was like, nah, I don't think so. That's when this Oregon journey started to creep up. I mean, at the time, I'd been working, studying, and training just to keep it all afloat, but I realized that wasn't sustainable. That's when I started to look into the collegiate system. And at the time I was in Mount Laguna, I was communicating with Andy Powell.
Yeah. So So just quickly before we get onto the Oregon stuff. So that let's say tail end of 2016 to say April, May 2017, you did 2 Falls Creek training camps with us. I think, it would have been about a month in November and a month in January. And then you came to Mount Laguna with us and probably did, I'm going to say like 4 weeks, raced at Oxy, and you were around a professional training environment for 3 month-long training camps. What were that was that was the first time that you felt that you were around really runners and, a really, let's say, a traditional coach, but you're also around a professional group. What were the main lessons that you learned about the sport and also learned what it took to make it to the next level? Because at the time, like, we had Gregson who'd just come 9th in the Olympic final. We'd had Jen Lacars. We had Brett Robinson. We had the start of Matt Ramsden coming through. It was just a really good group to be a part of. So what were those main things that you'd learned? And mind you, for those that don't know, Mount Laguna is about an hour out of San Diego in the mountains of California. And it is literally, imagine if you plonked 20 cabins in the middle of a fucking forest. Like, it is, the only thing you can do there is train, recover, eat, and watch a lot of Netflix.
I learned a lot from Nick's system, but I also learned that wasn't best for me. I think key takeaways I got from Nick's system that he built was, you guys trained bloody hard. Like, you guys had a real blue collar mentality of like, just kind of outwork each other. And that's great. I think that there's a time and a place for it. And I think that fed into my work ethic. So I just realized, okay, if you want to compete with these guys, you've got to be working this hard, some way or shape or form. It might not be the way they do it, but you got to be putting in the time and effort like you guys do. And that can be just how you live your life, because it is a certain lifestyle you have to live, and the recovery is almost as important as the workouts you do. So just living in that environment, seeing what you guys ate, seeing how you guys approached the warm-up, seeing what you guys did in the workouts itself, just how you went about life and the energy you brought to these workouts. I think you were a fantastic person at always making each workout bubbly, happy. You had a very unique approach that I love to be around. So just how you approach the day-to-day running, those were the basic key takeaways I got from like that training experience, I would say.
Yeah. And like, look, I'll say, like, obviously I didn't leave Nick / MTC with the best on the best terms, but at the same time, like, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, it really did teach me the ways to train, the ways to approach training, the ways to approach rehab. And then at the same time, like, realistically, you've got, let's say there was 15 blokes, all at an Olympic standard, that had, ultimately the same session, but there's 15 different ways to approach it. You have someone like a Brett Brett was injured that year, but maybe someone like a Dave McNeil, who's a little bit quieter, a bit more reserved. You have me, who's center of attention, trying to fight for the spotlight. But at the same time, you have 15 blokes to have the end goal, and that is to finish 10K worth of reps, train hard, and get ready for the next session. So it's a great place to learn. Obviously, I think that camp, that was kind of for you. if I can remember correctly, you were kind of using that as a way to be around professional athletes on an altitude training camp, but you were also using it to potentially use it as an avenue to get to the University of Oregon. So you started off speaking to Andy Powell. You went over to America and you did a few races, and that kind of started the process. So what was the process like, say, from, let's say, May 2017 to eventually starting it at Oregon in, I think you started in April the following year?
Oh, dates kind of get lost to me, but it was a process.
Yeah, it was about a 12-month process, wasn't it?
Yeah. So as you said, that's exactly right. I used that training experience as a way to get me in the door to Oregon, because I'd established that that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah,
so I started.
Was it? I mean, sorry as well, and just as well, like, I mean, Oregon. You look at Oregon; that's the hub of running. Was there any specific reason, like exactly Oregon, or was this just kind of going to be like a dream come true for you type thing?
It was. I think everyone grows up knowing about Oregon and inadvertently knowing about Oregon. Oregon is synonymous with Nike. Oregon is synonymous with Matthew Centrowitz and Andrew Weeding and all these top tier runners. So even if you don't really know Oregon, you know about Oregon. So it actually, I knew I was interested in college, but I wasn't hell bent on that's where I needed to be. But it's funny that our camp ended and I was at a point where I kind of wanted to just do a bit of exploring. And I reached out to the pals and said, hey, I'm actually in the neighborhood and I would love to come see the campus. Do you mind showing me around town? And he said, yeah, sure. If you can get your way here, sure, come take a look. So I funded myself to go check out Oregon. I actually had a cousin that lived in Portland, so I had some of a bit of a connection there. And I went to the university and absolutely fell in love with it. They rolled out the red carpet for me. They showed me the facilities, the team atmosphere, the access to facilities and gear. Like, it was just something that I was so deprived of. Like, I couldn't get a pair of shoes when I was at home, and I was running it on a grass track that would probably be bogged out or I would get kicked off of. It was a home base that I had never experienced, and it was pretty much the best possible setup for me. I was able to continue my studies. I was able to establish friendships. It was able to give me a bubble that would allow me to improve academically, athletically, and also as a man. Like, yeah, it's an opportunity to live in a different country, and I think that's a great experience. So after that meeting, I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. So everything was hell bent on that. It was clear that with my season, I was able to join the team. Just athletically, I'd run 3:42, and they were happy to have me. And it seemed as though I meshed well with the team. So they said, yeah, get yourself here. It did take a little bit of time to get myself eligible, because at the time, I didn't take any subjects in high school that would allow me to, like, my transcript, for some reason, they just didn't understand it. Like, our grading system, they just didn't understand if I'd graduated high school. So I had to go to uni and take a few extra courses just to make myself eligible. So it ended up taking about 12, 18 months to get over there, but yeah, got there eventually.
Yeah. It seems like it's bloody hard for Australians to get over there, because like it's hard to begin with when you're doing the SATs and then trying to show what subjects you did in high school. But then as well, there's also the situation where you can transfer from like an Australian uni to an American uni. And that was the process I went down, and that was going to be fucking complicated. I obviously didn't go that way, but yeah, it's bloody tough. But yeah, you obviously, so yeah, let's say you fast forward that 12, 18 months, whatever it is, and you're day one of Oregon University, and you're at probably one of the most famous distance teams almost in the world, or definitely the most recognized. And yeah, you're under the guidance of Andy and Marissa Powell. And I think that Andy Powell is probably one of the reasons why people go to that college. He's one of the people that made that school so successful. And and he coached Centrowitz to an NCAA championships, third at world champs. And he actually coached Matt in his first year as a professional athlete before he went to the Oregon project. Unfortunately for you, you start there, and 3 months later, Andy Power says, "Hey guys, I'm going to take up a position at the University of Washington," which is why now I think University of Washington is such a destination school. And you go under the guidance of Ben Thomas, who had just transferred over from Virginia Tech. So, yeah, what were the emotions like around that, going from Andy Powell, this successful coach, to then going to Ben Thomas, who at the time was a little unknown. And yeah, because I even remember speaking to you like, "Hey, like, you all right, man? Like, what's up?" And you were just like, "I just never would have expected this." Like, if we go all the way back in our Facebook chat. So yeah, just run me through that emotion and that kind of, that reality that you get 2 or 3 months into your college career.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I think at the time I thought to myself, like, shit, I've just had the worst luck with my progression. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional runner, but like my first coach really didn't prepare me for that. I then had to go through Nick Beddoe, which wasn't the best setup for me. And I thought, fuck, I finally made it. I finally at Oregon. It's just where I need to be. And Andy Powell was part of that puzzle. He was just the coach for me. He's a fantastic recruiter. And yeah, and then 3 months later, he says I'm picking up stumps and going somewhere else. And at the time, they also knocked down Hayward Field. No. So it was just like, shit, like, just what's the odds?
Literally ripped away.
Seriously, like, I didn't come here for Ben Thomas. Like, I don't know who he is. I came here for Andy Powell. I came here for Hayward Field, and I lost both of them. So yeah, it was just like, God, like, what's the odds? What's the luck? And there was conversations with Andy of me transferring over, but to be honest, I just loved Oregon too much. I loved the colors. I loved what Oregon stood for. I don't know the University of Washington. I don't know it from a bar of soap. And although I really like Andy, I think the program Oregon has is world class, and I just believed in it totally. So I stayed the course. I'll admit, Ben wasn't my first pick. I think I even said it from day dot. I would never be coached by Ben Thomas. I wouldn't choose Ben Thomas as a coach. But God, was I wrong? Like, Ben's a fantastic coach. We now have a fantastic relationship, and he's a really good friend of mine. And just what he was the relationship we were able to build is why I'm here today, is why I'm now a professional runner and why I'm an Olympian. But it did take time. Ben had a very unique approach to training, and it was totally different to what I was kind of used to. And I'd still say my running IQ is very low. I was still trying to figure out running. I was only a 342 guy. Like, I'm not by any means on the radar, I'd say. I'm still trying to figure it out. So on top of that, I'm getting trained by a new coach. So it took some time to get used to, but as I'm getting used to Ben, I'm also learning more about myself and how to train, what's best for me. And I don't think I had much success that first year. I think I ran 357, so that was a big breakthrough again. Qualified for World NCAA mile final indoor.
That's the one that Beamish won? Well. Is that the one that Geordie Beamish
won?
Yeah.
And Ollie was pretty hot shit at the time, but he came second, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny, just going back, I remember I wasn't sold on Ben Thomas as well, obviously, like, completely wrong. But one thing that really stood out that year was Neil Gurley. He signed with the Oregon Track Club, who had Mark Rowland, Mark Rowland's one of the most famous coaches in the world. And I remember Neil Gurley was part of the Oregon Track Club, but decided to keep Ben Thomas on as his coach. So Neil Gurley had graduated from the Virginia Tech, where Ben Thomas coached, and decided, and instead of going to Mark Rowland, who's coached Nick Simmons, who's coached Hassan Mead, all these, big Pat Tiernan until recently, he decided to stay with his coach. And I remember thinking, that is a fucking interesting call. Anyway, that year he ended up winning the British Championships, making the World Champs final, and running like 3:34, I think. So, I mean, if you look at that, just that to begin with, I mean, it just showed that he was on his way. But you also, I feel like 2019 and even 2018, I feel like you kind of were brought into like a really golden, what ended up being a really golden era of Oregon. So when you joined, there was athletes like Cole Hocker, Cooper Tier, James West. I don't really need to speak about the first two, but James West as well. He's a 334 runner. I think he's around like a 740 3K. So when you look at that, from 800 to 3K, or now 5K, you guys were beasts. Like you had an awesome team, like probably better than some professional groups. So yeah, just before we kind of go on to the rest of your college career, can you just run me through what a normal week was with Ben Thomas? Because you're only with Andy for a few months, but yeah, what was a normal training week like, and how that changed to kind of by the tail end of 2021, and also what the training dynamic was like with now, they were obviously juniors at the time, but now 2 world beaters. I think Cole was 6th in the Olympic final, and he's fucking good enough to win a medal. So yeah, what was the dynamic and training week like?
Yeah, a typical week would have been. Ben is incredibly specific, and I hate kind of going into it because there's no easy way and there's no generic week. Ben was incredibly specific, almost down to the 100 meters. It was a very military approach. We met up every day at a certain time, twice a day. Ben would give us documents on the appropriate diet, the appropriate recovery techniques, and it was a very hands-on approach, which I've since found out I really, really like. But Ben wasn't your friend. He was clearly your coach. He's just like, he's there as your coach. There wasn't much of a banter or anything going on. It was just like, here's the program, do it and you'll be good. And I think at the time, yeah, Cooper, Cole, myself, Reed Brown, James West, we were all kind of guys that really, I think there was a lot of talent there, but also like-minded and very driven and competitive. So a typical, I don't even really want to go into a typical week because it'd bore you, but a lot of cross training, a lot of specificity, pretty low mileage, very intense.
What was your weekly, let's say, like, what would be roughly in a good training block, what would be like average mileage, and then how many sessions would it be, as in like hard workouts would it be?
Mileage, everyone did the same mileage. I think it was about maybe 120, maybe.
K or mile?
Might have been a bit. K.
Okay. So that's for someone like yourself, 144, and also Cooper Tier, who's now around 1308.
Yeah, we'd all be the same mileage.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So low mileage, but the workout, I think Ben is one of the best guys in the world with regards to workouts. They're incredibly specific, and we touch on a lot of different things. And it's really good. I really like Ben's training. But I would say we do, 3 tough workouts, 3 specific tough workouts, maybe even 4.
Yeah, and those workouts are pretty, like, you're doing. Sorry, when you said everyone's doing the same mileage, is everyone doing the same sessions as well?
There'd be 2 groups, distance, middle distance. So Cooper and Cole would be the distance group, and they would, typically have a slightly longer workout in the track season, but in the base phase, we'd all do the same.
Okay.
But really, we're all doing the exact same mileage.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Pretty incredible. Like, it's just amazing to think that you can have, 2 guys doing the same workouts, and one's running 144, another one's running 331 and coming 6th at the Olympics, and then you have Cooper, who's, I think it was 13-12 last year and just missed out on the USA's. Interesting training dynamic. Because like most groups, there's a lot of specificity, I'd say. Like even with the new group I'm in,
there's far more specificity. But in college, I guess it's best to have just a generic blueprint. And yeah, we would all do the exact same mileage pretty much, and pretty well the exact same training.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool.
And then with Cooper and Cole, you were, I mean, I feel like every time I'd open up Instagram, I felt like it was you three and James West and Reed and, the rest of the Oregon guys. I felt like a lot of the time it was just you guys all in the same race together. Was there much competition or rivalry or like tensity or just anything like that in training, or were you guys able to work together and train in harmony?
Yeah, great bunch of guys. There was no drama queens on that team. Specifically Cooper and Cole. That's I think one reason why we had so much success was we're all good friends. We didn't take, especially Cooper and Cole, they don't take it too serious. Fiercely competitive, but it's lighthearted and it's just there's good respect there. There was never any drama at all. So we all, I think at the start of that 2021 season, we had all realized we're not here to muck around. Like we all really, I think, made a conscious effort to do something special that year, and it just kept on upping itself. But we all brought it every single workout, incredibly good energy and high intensity. We were all fiercely competitive, but it never crossed the line of drama or anything like that. It was a really good purple patch. Yeah.
And it's funny. Like I feel like if you look at the top distance groups, like your Bauman, your Oregon Project, the former Oregon Project, Union now, and even the top sprint groups, the best guys train together. And it just seems to be a way where it brings success. Obviously the 2019 season, kind of your first real stint, and you made the NCAA final in the mile. I think you got run out of the heats in the 15 at outdoors. Without glossing over too quickly, but it seems like 2020, in like January, February for the outdoor season of that year, it seems like you'd kind of made a big move in your training. So you opened up with a 355, and then you broke the Australian indoor record of 354. Was there anything major that, was different? And then also at the same time, that kind of coincided with the lockdowns and COVID. What did you do? What did you do differently, or what did you do throughout that time? Say, because I'm pretty sure that year, everyone was at NCAA indoors, the pandemic hit, and they cancelled it like an hour before it was meant to start or something like that. So what did you kind of do in 2020? Like what was the reaction to all of that after such a big start to the year?
Yeah. I think I've always had the same mentality. I've been someone that really wants it from day dot to when I started running with you guys. I really, really wanted it. I've always wanted to be the best or be competitive and make these teams and run these really quick times. But what I put it down to is I just needed more time. I needed to understand the training. I think my body needed to adapt to the training. And unfortunately, I just had some hiccups along the way. I had changes of coaches, changes of programs. Just joining college itself is a big adjustment. You need to get used to all these things, and it's kind of rare to join a group and just it clicks straight away. So I just needed time. My mind was there, my intensity was there. I just needed a bit of time to adapt to the training and kind of absorb it and really learn how to run properly. So
a more natural progression type thing than differences in training type thing.
Yeah. So come that indoor season, it had a slow start, but as you said, I ended up running 355, which was a big breakthrough. I beat Centrowitz, I beat Cole and Cooper to win a Boston indoor mile. And that was a big breakthrough because at the time that was in preparation for the Tokyo Olympics, wasn't it? Aussie champs.
Yep. That was Centro's first race since, I think that was Centro's first race since Doha. So I remember that race.
Yeah, he wasn't in peak form, that's for sure. But I'll claim the scalp. But yeah, that's where my mindset was at. I had ambitions of going back home for Aussie champs and qualifying for Tokyo.
Yep.
I don't think that would happen. I needed more time, but it was off to a great start. That specifically, that race was a big breakthrough. Ran 3:55, beat some big dogs, and I was on my way. And as you said, we went to Albuquerque, New Mexico for the indoor national championships. And day before the race, they pulled the plug. COVID was officially here, and that's all she wrote. So I went home probably 2 days later, still with the ambition of running Aussie champs. That got cancelled. I think I also had plans to run in Brisbane because I was in fantastic shape. That got pulled, and that's COVID. That's that chapter. Everything, I was on great trajectory. I think I'd really, really reached that next level that you kind of now know me as, but COVID hit. So
yeah,
that's.
Yeah. And then, with that lockdown, I felt like a lot of people took it in a few ways. Like, a lot of people did nothing. Like, for my sake, I just used it as a time to get my body right. So I literally did nothing. And then other people used it as a way to kind of get ahead for the year after. So anything specifically you did that year? I remember for a brief moment, you'd went to Flagstaff and trained with like Stephen Hass's group and a few other pro runners that were up there. Was there anything else that you really did to try get ahead for the year after?
It was still full steam ahead. In my mind, this was just a setback, and when the time came, I'd be ready. So I had supreme confidence that I was doing the right thing, and if I kept doing it, it was going to pay off. So yeah, I ended up probably spending close to a year here, just working on my craft, just training hard, trying to get fit. By the time I was able to go back to the States, I had found myself in pretty good shape. I was able to string together a really good, consistent block of just base work, and I think I got really fit. So by the time I was back with the squad, it was a breath of fresh air. I was really happy to be back in Oregon. At that time, Hayward Field had finished. I had more time to train with Ben Thomas, to understand the training, and physically, I think I was in a really good spot. And as you said, COVID was still around, so I couldn't go back home. So I used that opportunity to do some altitude. So yeah, I reached out to Hass and went up there, and that was also a very, very key turning point for me, because that was my first real altitude stint. And I think it went really, really well. I had fantastic training. I had also worked out with the coaches back at Oregon that my ambitions were Tokyo, not NCAAs.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, they're being paid to promote the collegiate system, not what's after college. So it was important to me that I was being trained for Tokyo, and that's what my goal was. So we had actually established that I was going to redshirt outdoors and do Aussie champs.
Oh, wow.
It didn't end up happening like that way, but I had a conversation with the coaches and said, "Hey, are you on board with this? Can I be trained for Tokyo?" And they said yes. So that was a big turning point, because for me, it was like this is the path. Like, do this camp, run the time, qualify for Tokyo. There was no questions about was I being trained for this event or this event. It was just so clear in my mind that if I stayed the course, it was going to work out. And it was just the stars aligned. Coop and Cole had fantastic seasons. The right races happened. It was just a perfect storm of things, and good momentum happened, and it ended up, coming to fruition that I ran some great times and qualified for Tokyo.
Yeah.
It was so, now that I look back on it, it was just such an unreal year. There's just a perfect storm of events that happened, and I was just ready for it. I seized it.
Yeah. And and I mean, so yeah, obviously that kind of like talks about 2020. You just had that mindset that it's screw the COVID. It's just like Olympics is 12 months later. Let's do everything we can to get there. Another thing as well is, so like 2021 was obviously a breakout, and we'll get into that in just a second. But it seemed like because when I've been around you, when I've trained with you, when I've watched you, it seemed like you're a miler, you're a 1500 meter runner. But then, seemed like pretty much in 2021, your focus became the 800. Was there a discussion you had? Maybe it was when you were saying, "Hey, let's go for Tokyo." Was there a discussion you had with anyone, or how was it that you kind of got thrust into the 800 as opposed to doing the 1500? If I look at it now, like you won the NCAA championships in the indoor 800, you ran 145, which is the Australian indoor record, maybe the Oceania record too. What was that moving from the I suppose, like, from, even though you'd done both, what was it that you were going to focus on the 8 as opposed to the 15 or the mile?
All year it was the 15. It was still the 15 come kind of mid-year. But yeah, as you said, I train as a 15 runner. I kind of consider myself as a 15 runner, and all my coaches do too. It's just the 8's just really clicking. I don't know. I can't describe it, but there was actually one race that was the turning point, and why we established the 8 being the main event for me was it was the Arkansas. It was like the second meet of the indoor season in 2021, and the goal was when Coop and Cole ran 350 for the mile, we actually had a 1500 meter clock, and I was going to run 1500. So I was running a 1500 that day with the ambitions of getting the Olympic standard. It just didn't go my way. I got after it, but it didn't go my way. And I was so pissed after that race that I went in the next day with just this total hatred for this 800 that I was just going to kill it. I was going to murder it. I was so pissed that I got beat and that I didn't win, that I didn't get the time, that I was just furious. So like I was furious, but I was also like, I just don't give a rat's ass about this 8. But I spoke to my dad and he's like, just do it. Just run hard. I was like, all right, cool. I don't care. Like, I'm just going to run hard. And I don't know. I ran incredibly quick. I think I negative split it. I think I went 53-51. Looking back, it was a really, really good race.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a shock to me. When I finished, people were like, do you know what you just ran? I was like, not really. Like, I had no frame of reference to what a good 800 was. And it turns out it's pretty good. It was just after that race, it was like clear, like, look, the 800 is pretty open. You should that's your best bet to make in Tokyo. And that's what it was for me. I just wanted to be an Olympian. I still consider myself a 15 guy, but the current climate of Australian 1500 is very top tier, and I'd be up against it. And the goal for me is to become an Olympian and be competitive in the best event for me. And right now that's the 8. I think it's the 15 down the future, but right now it's the 8. So I'm going to stay with it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And yeah, 145 indoors is pretty impressive. Like, I feel like the 15, like, you can run obviously pretty similar times, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like the 8, there seems to be a decent differential in outdoor to indoors. So yeah, maybe the 15 up is that real time where you can have a similar. But yeah, the 8's tough. And so just on that day, you pretty much ran the 800 out of spite. So you'd ran 353 the day before, Australian indoor record, Oceania indoor record, and then you ran, or maybe it was just the Australian record, but then it was both. It was both, yeah. And then you'd also ran the next day. So you broke 2 Australian indoor records in 24 hours.
Yeah, no, it was a beast. It was looking back, it was phenomenal. Like, yeah, I ran a 353 mile, the hard, like, for me, the hard way. I did it kind of up front and I blew up. And then within 24 hours, I ran the 800, negative split it, closing at a 51, and broke both the Australian and Oceania record. So it's a pretty good day for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Okay, so yeah, that you use that momentum going forward. You go to the NCAA championships. I'm not sure if it was at the NCAA. Well, so you won the indoor 800 by 0.01. And if for the listeners, if you get a chance to have a look at that race, watch it, because I'm still not convinced that Charlie won, but he got the win on the photo finish, won the 800. But another thing that happened massively that year was you guys, that like I said before, that kind of golden era, you all got to race in the DMR. You won the DMR NCAA championships, but you also broke the indoor NCAA record that might also be the indoor world record for the DMR. Is that right?
Yeah. So we actually broke it 3 times. So we won the national title, but we were like 0.01 from our record. But it gets a little confusing. But yeah, Cooper, Colin, myself, and another guy on the team, we broke the collegiate record, smashed it actually, and it's technically it's called a world best indoors.
Yeah.
So we're moving pretty quick.
Yeah. So world best, I think, is used for like, so like Mo Farah. Mo Farah has the world best for the indoor 2 mile, but it's not a world record because I don't know. It's for like odd distances or something like that. So maybe Donovan Brazier, I think he has the world best for 600. So it's like, out of reg. Yeah. Okay. So you're a world record holder. So maybe you're Inside Running's first ever world record holder. I might be wrong there, but yeah. Okay. All right. So just kind of emphasizes that point. Like you really are in one of the best eras of Oregon track and field. And that championship as well, you won the 800, Cole won the mile and the 3K, and Cooper was second in the 3K and won the 5?
No, but he anchored our DMR in 352.
Right. Oh, fuck. Right. Okay. And did you guys went pretty... Did you win the championship that year, the whole thing?
Yeah. God, that was a special day.
And you pretty much all scored from just distance, hey?
We won a couple other ones. It was a very good team. We won the 60 and the triple jump.
Oh shit! Okay.
Probably got some other points there as well.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll forget about those. We'll just say it was all in distance. All right. So and you kind of like just kept that momentum going. So that year, I'm not quite sure about exactly what you did between indoors and outdoors, but you ended up going to the NCAA championships, which was at the brand new Hayward Field, and you finished 3rd in a pretty stacked race with was it Isaac Jewett, the one who ended up coming second to Clayton Murphy in the outdoors that year. But you finished 3rd in 145. What was it like running a major championship or running an NCAA championships in front of a home crowd in Oregon, competing for Oregon?
Yeah, like that's about as close as an Olympic final as you'll get. Like that, the NCAA system, as we touched on before, the reason why it prepares you so well for these major championships is because it is.
Yeah.
You're staying in a hotel. You're in this little bubble. You've got pretty decent crowds there. It's hyped up so much. So there's really no jump to a major championship because you are competing in a championship. And especially as a duck at a home national champs, it's pretty special. That's a championship that I wish I maybe prepared myself a bit more for. I don't know. I have a tendency to put a bit too much pressure on myself when it really counts. And at a home national champs, I think succumbed to the pressure a little bit, which I'm always trying to work on. But that was something that I think I could have done better at, because it was like the buzz around a home national champs. You've been to a pre-classic, kind of how good the crowd can be, and it's this really high energy environment. So that was really cool to be a part of, but I wish I had performed a little bit better. But no, I don't know how to explain it. Like the heats went fantastic. I was really, really confident, and I won my heat in 148 comfortably. And Isaiah Jewett and Brandon Miller, who went on to go 1-2, barely made the final, and was like, all right, these guys aren't in the shape that I think they're in. And so we were really blindsided with that race, because we thought it's going to be fairly slow and it won't be quick. That's what I thought. They ended up going through in 50 point, and I just wasn't ready for that. I should have been, but they got the jump on me. And yeah, I still did a seasonal best running 145, but they just got the jump on me. We weren't ready for that at all. We just didn't think they were going to run that quick. So pretty disappointing, but look, it's pretty good run still, I guess.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, like I remember when you'd finished and I was like, I was thinking, it would have been awesome for Charlie to win. But then you look at what Jewett did like a few weeks later in the USA 800 meter final. It really showed how good he was because like I think he went through in like 51 or 50, like something quick in the USAs, but his third 200 of that major championship was in like 25 low or something. So he was, I mean, like, even though you're probably disappointed that you came third, he was at the time, he was just, looking like I think he ended up getting tripped in the semi-final of the Olympics, but it looked like he was maybe going to go on to go pretty well in the final. And just to touch on that as well. I mean, I've ran the pre-classic twice in the international mile, but I remember in 2017 running and I was standing next to Andrew Weeding. And Andrew Weeding's probably one of them, like, he's probably got like one of the biggest names coming out of the Oregon University track and field. And I got introduced and I think I got 2 claps, and then they introduced Andy Weeding, and man, it was incredible. Like, I just remember thinking I would love to be an Oregon athlete purely for the response you get at Hayward Field. So to know that you might get that, or you will get that at World Champs, I'm pretty jealous.
It's pretty special to be a duck at a home at Hayward Field. It's pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I'm pretty sure like a few days after the NCAAs, you and James West did some time trials, didn't you, to try get the qualifier? So I think you maybe around 145, but then that obviously set you up for your now PB of 144.35, where you ran it in fucking like the most random fucking meet ever with like no crowd, overcast. So did you just pretty much finish NCAAs and think, all right, fine, third, it is what it is, but let's fucking get this qualifying time now?
Yeah, so at the time it was still like gung-ho, like I want to make Tokyo. And it was after NCAAs, I was like, coach wanted me to kind of chill out and then have another crack later. And he had set up like a little pop-up meet 2 days later or a day later to get some like US standards and potential Olympic standards for James. And I was like, mate, I'm ready to go. Just pop me in it. Like, I just want to race. And I ended up running like 145.21.
Oh,
like
that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I knew it was in the 45s, but I couldn't. Now that I remember, you say that, it was just off, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like after the NCAA 800, I was so pissed. I went and ran like a 25K long run and that just crushed it. And then Ben told me about this time. So I was like, yeah, put me in it. So I ran 2 hard 800s, crushed like a massive long run. And then the next day I ran this 800 in 145.21, just missed, and I was fuming. So I was in good shape for sure, but it just, I think I was just so frustrated. I was just in such a confident like mindset of like, I'm just going to run so hard. And it just, I don't know, like it's a hard, like I think I learned in those races to run really quick. You've got to get out really hard. And so, yeah, I think it was 2-3 weeks later, I ran the 144 in some pop-up little meet.
Yeah. Which, I think as well, like, I reckon I didn't even really appreciate it at the time. Like, I just looked at 144 and I was like, yep, it's under 145 too, and you've got the qualifier. But probably didn't appreciate it maybe until, I think I was just on the rankings like a couple of months later, probably checking out how far I've slipped down because I was once 6th. And yeah, I remember, so when you ran 144.35, you were second at the time behind Deng. You jumped Ralph DeBell, jumped Jeff Risely, who, Jeff Risely was, someone you looked up to. You jumped me, who you looked up to as well. Yeah, Alex Rowe. So some pretty big names. And obviously with how Pete ran at the Olympics, you're now third. So I just felt like it maybe just didn't get the appreciation of how good it was at the time. But obviously you were ultimately rewarded by qualifying for the Olympics and then getting selected. So
this episode of the Inside Running Podcast is sponsored by New Balance. New Balance's Fresh Foam X version 12 range represents a revolutionary advancement in the material that cushions the high impact foot strikes that occur on roads, tracks, courts and fields everywhere. Informed by 3D motion captured pressure mapping and force application data gathered from real athletes, Fresh Foam is softness quantified.